And we are live. Welcome to the MLB Deeper Dive. It is Monday, August 21st. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Eric Lindquist. We are brought to you by Caesars. It's the real Caesars. And we can go into a full bit if we need to, but I don't think we need to. We will talk about them in a bit. Before we get started, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. Eric, what's going on?
Did the real Caesar live here? No, I don't think. I didn't think so.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, it's always a good way to start it off. Yeah, it's good to be here in the garage again. One more day. I'll be in the studio here starting tomorrow. Looking forward to that. But just had some stuff that needed to get done around here, and it's going to continue to be a work in progress for a couple of weeks. But looking forward to today. I like this slate. I liked it more with the Angels game, a part of it. But now it's just going to add a whole nother level to it that it's going to be fun. It's going to be wild. You've actually been on an insane heater, and I feel like most of those have been like shorter MLB slates. No?
I'll be honest, I don't know. There's been
cool.
There's been so many successes that it's hard to really keep track. I mean, I hit the night slate on Friday, so that one for sure. But I have no concept of how many games are on any of the things that have happened so far. I have a memory like a goldfish. It's gone immediately. And I took such a bath on Saturday after last week that I have forgotten everything already. MMA, awful.
Oh, dear God.
Awful. Double awful. Showdown, awful. Main slate, awful. Everything I touched. MLB, two separate slates, awful and awful. I lost basically everything I won on the night slate on Friday.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, this isn't like a hashtag how rich thing, but I probably profited at least $500 on every single Rainmakers MMA slate for the last 2 months.
Yeah.
I lost almost every dollar that I put into play last week, which is pretty tough to do. There were ridiculous outlier performances. There was the O'Malley, I had 0% full fade. Sold every card I had of him and just went 100% Sterling. Didn't have him, had him in basically every single lineup. So I did not enjoy my day either. It was a bloodbath. Definitely gave it back and then some on Saturday.
Yeah, I would have been on your side there with the O'Malley sitch. I did not. I mean, like, that's how I thought he would win if he were going to win, obviously. But I thought Sterling would backpack him a bit.
Hearing O'Malley also had like a cut up rib going into it and hadn't grappled for months leading into it against a guy who was obviously going to try to grapple him at some point in that fight. And then it would have been over. Oh, it was so tilting. But yeah, O'Malley, he gets that shot off. It's the name of the game there. He was really, really high owned, even for Rainmakers purposes, like 36, 38%. I thought that was a mistake. So I'll live.
Yeah, I was cheering for O'Malley for sure, but so I got the outcome I wanted, but unfortunately not great in MMA. But I was dead. I was dead after the first fight, so it really didn't matter.
Yeah,
and after the second fight, after the first fight, I was basically dead, and after the second fight, I was properly dead.
Kareem Silva just going out and who taps with a second left?
I saw it coming, and I was just like, hold on, you moron, or this is going to be death. And then she started to tap, and I was like, did they call it? Are they saying the horn was first? Because that would be awesome.
Would have been epic. No, alas, that was a fight I was pretty much all in on, at least. So that worked out well for me. But everything else, I had limited Zhang and captain, which you obviously needed. And then Sterling. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for coming. Have a nice day.
Yeah, not ideal. Not ideal. But as long as Aljo's not the champ anymore, that means we get more fun bantamweight title fights, and that's all that I could ask for.
Fair.
Really.
That's very fair.
All right. I think we've killed enough time at the beginning. Now that we're down a game, we need a little bit less. So I am ready to dive into this one if you are.
Yes, sir. Let's ride.
The Pittsburgh Pirates have a 4.9 run implied total, taking on the St. Louis Cardinals, 5.1 run for the Cards. I have, and everyone has, Drew Rom versus Thomas Hatch in a battle of, Drew Rom actually has a bit of a pedigree here. Thomas Hatch is pulling what looks like no ownership and is not likely to go very deep in this game. Drew Rom, on the other hand, making his debut, flat 4K on DK, 19% owned. We got to start with Rom. How are you approaching him? Because the ownership wasn't there as much this morning when we did the strategy show. Now up to around 20% owned. Very different slate. We don't have Giolito at the top any longer, so maybe you're not paying up as much. What do you do with the pay down option in Rom?
Yeah, I think everybody just started looking at the St. Louis AAA numbers. I mean, he's had all of the 2 starts there, but 43.9% K rate. We also lose a game where you had kind of a opportunity to play some pitching. So that makes it a little bit easier to get to. But even with Baltimore, over the course of his 7 wins. So 19 total games that he appeared in, 18 games that he started, 25.1% K rate with Baltimore. Now he's facing a Pirates team that you obviously can get after a little bit. I saw his K prop was sitting around 4.5. I thought that was kind of an interesting thing at plus money. But in terms of DFS, I mean, this is a lot of popularity for a spot that there are some range of outcomes here for Mr. Rom. I like the strikeout stuff there. He's facing basically a quad A lineup here, but considering Pittsburgh, positive leverage, pretty much flat leverage here in this spot, I'm actually getting more to the bat side, it would appear, than I'm getting to Drew Rom. How about you?
I thought I would have a bunch of him earlier today. And then I think losing that Angels game really makes him slightly less interesting. And I do think in the spots that he's getting used, he's going to get used a lot with an Atlanta stack and a lot less so everywhere else because he's just a natural SP2 pairing to the constant 6K price tags coming out of the Braves lineup. So I think that's going to be a relatively popular construction. I'm under on Rom now. I wouldn't mind having more, but 19% is probably a tad too high for him. I certainly don't need any Thomas Hatch on the opposite side, who's probably only going like 2 innings.
Yep, 4K. It's 4K. I know what he allows you to do in your lineups, and you look at that's pretty much what the top pitcher shows. But the top pitchers tool is showing 37.4% top 2 value percentage for DK purposes. But that's some major negative leverage still. We have him with an 8% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. If it sacrifices more Braves bats, so be it for me. I'm okay with it on this slate.
So you said you were getting to more of the bats side. I'm going to lead with the Cardinals. Second in top stack, second in top value, first in overall ownership. Is that the team you're getting to, or are you getting to more Pirates?
I'm getting to more Pirates. It's a little bit of both, obviously. St. Louis, they're the team leading in terms of top stack behind Atlanta, so second on the entire slate. But Pittsburgh overall going against St. Louis going against Bailey Falter. That's obviously a phenomenal spot, but I think it's just a leverage thing where you have somebody who's this far down in our top 2 value percentage, and then you put it into the Sims. And it's just spitting out a lot of Pittsburgh bats for me here at the moment. You do have power at the top of this lineup. You get some value that gives you opportunities to get to Luis Castillo, even though the game environment isn't the best there. Looks like decent hitting weather there in Chicago. You get Michael Wacha, 9,800, Jordan Montgomery, 9,800, who's just pitched awesome for the Texas Rangers. I'm getting to a lot of the spend ups there, and Pittsburgh's one of those stacks that doesn't carry a lot of ownership that just allows me to get there.
So I have 11 5-man Pirate stacks. I also have 11 Cardinal stacks. I have basically the exact same amount of aggregate exposure to both teams, which is right around 8%. So neutral to Pittsburgh, a little bit lighter on St. Louis, but I'm happy to have a bit of both sides because the pitching situation for the Pirates isn't all that ideal. And Drew Rom is a giant question mark on the Cardinals side. That's also getting ownership. So I'm happy to get whatever little benefit I get out of having the Pirates because of Drew Rom's ownership. I don't love the park normally.
Yeah, but, that's the thing. PNC, I think, is the other part of the equation where you had Atlanta going into PNC with just huge suppression to their run totals, and I don't think anybody really accounted for it. People just kind of blindly played them every single day because they're the Braves, and well, it's never a bad thing to blindly play them at times, but in this spot, in this ballpark, not my favorite to be targeting, but again, Pittsburgh, they're going a little bit underutilized, I think, just especially with some of the key bats that give me exposure to some of the pitchers I feel a little bit more confident in, and if I'm not going to be jamming in that build, the Braves plus Rom, obviously I'm going to be getting to constructions that look more like this, where I have some value bats from the Pittsburgh side.
Yeah, this is an interesting game where I think you can very realistically have 3 of the 4 sides. I don't think you're ever getting to Hatch, or if you're assuming that it's Bailey Falter, I don't think you're ever really getting to Bailey Falter in this spot either.
No, Bailey Falter's terrible. Confirmed.
Fun game.
Yeah, I will say one thing that was a little bit surprising to me. Well, actually, it's not even really all that surprising to me because it is what it is. But yeah, and never mind. We'll just kind of move on. I don't really have anything else to add. Hit eject on it.
Oh, that was fantastic. I had no idea where it was going, and all of a sudden it didn't have to go anywhere.
It didn't have to go literally anywhere. That was me trying to bring Adam to the show, in spirit, of course. There's no way he's watching, so I feel bad about that. I'll make sure I trash him and text him in person.
There's no chance he's watching.
Okay.
I'm guessing he's not on his computer, but I don't know. He's probably on the golf course at the rate he's been going.
That's not a bad life to live.
I wouldn't mind it. Although that would be the first time I've been on a golf course in a decade, so maybe I should step my game up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it depends. I mean, for somebody who used to be very, very good at golf, this has been the worst year of golf of my life, and I kind of want to quit it. After 20 years of being competitive, playing in college, everything else, my putter has got me to the point where I'm broken down the way that Justin Thomas or maybe a former Lucas Glover has been. I don't even want to look at a golf club.
Scotty Scheffler, he can't putt. Imagine if he could putt.
I mean, he made a decent enough amount of putts over the weekend.
Yeah.
You're going to lose to 61 at that golf course pretty much every single time. I mean, that was just Victor Hovland, bro. I saw a number where he gained more shots on the back nine alone than every other tournament round he's played on the PGA Tour besides 4. So 4 rounds total. He eclipsed in strokes gained total in 9 holes, which is just an insane stat.
Yeah, that was a not fun PGA event for me. I had a lot of the lowest dollar players with like double pay up pairings, and it was the shame. It was basically everybody that shot like 14 over.
Yeah, it was there was some carnage in golf too. There was some carnage this weekend.
Anything else for Pirates and Cardinals?
Yeah, it's a spot where I think if you're going towards the chalk build, would you be considering anything from cash in this game? Because I wouldn't.
I think Tommy Edman is viable. Okay. 4,300 with the MPE, but obviously, like if you're looking for him, you're probably trying to put him in at short. I doubt he ends up being that guy, but he's probably on that list. And if like 3,700 is what you have left, I think Tyler O'Neill is also viable in that spot, but I'm guessing that would be allocated a little bit differently. I can't imagine going anywhere else.
Yeah, because on these 7-8 game slates, I guess we have 7 now today. I've been playing some head-to-heads and some cash just to kind of mix it up a little bit. And obviously for me, it's easier to manually, mess around with a cash lineup from time to time than it is to be building 150 and then go record for 2 hours after this for my lock show. So one of those things where I just kind of wanted to get your input there because I didn't see anything.
Wilson Contreras, I guess, is feasible for catcher. Like it's him, it's Mitch Garver, it's Cal Raleigh. Like all of those guys are all pretty comparable to me. I think it's the answer is probably either Cal Raleigh or Mitch Garver.
Yep. Cal Raleigh is who I have right now. So I like that.
All righty. Shout out to schedule for the rest of the day. This gets very easy. MLB Live Before Lock coming up next. I don't think that there's too much to add to this one. You guys know what MLB Live Before Lock is. We have it on a constant basis, basically every single day. It's one of our flagship shows. So you can watch MLB Live Before Lock tonight at 6. And then that's it. There are no more live shows for tonight. It's that simple. Just keep watching baseball stuff. That's what we've got. And I'm going to be honest with you, this one feels a little bit weird, but you know what? I'm going to read the teleprompter as I read the teleprompter. While we are sponsored by Caesars, you should sign up at BetMGM. Why not? Link in the description. If you're interested in signing up at BetMGM, you're going to get a bunch of additional money on the back end. You will get up to $1,000 on your first bet back if it loses. Now, it doesn't come back as cash. It comes back as bet credits. I got to be very clear with you here, but that's still a pretty good way to start it off. Let's say you put $1,000 down on that first bet and it wins. You do nothing else. You just have that money. Everything has already succeeded. The promotion is over. And you also get a month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, by the way. That helps. But if you lose that first bet, you will get that 1,000 back in bet credits. Why not take that extra shot? Maybe you win. Let's say you take an underdog that's like 40% to win and it wins. That's great. Otherwise, you're getting it back in bet credits. Either way, you're getting multiple shots. You're getting to use that dollar more than once. So sign up with BetMGM if you're interested. Link in the description. But after this, forget about them because we're going to talk about a different deal that looks just like it.
Amazing. I missed you.
Sometimes you just got to be honest. Take advantage of all of them. Every single one of them is free money for you guys. Yeah. I have no preference whatsoever which one you take, other than taking all of them. Just put extra money in your pocket. If you don't do it, you're just leaving this money at the sports books. Take it for yourself. It's just better that way.
Yeah, it's a lot better. Anytime you get an opportunity to have money infused into your bankroll without doing anything other than just like signing up at a place, I mean, that's the easiest way that you can improve your, it's just going to enhance your bankroll in such a positive manner that there's no way that you shouldn't be signed up at every single spot. And then when different lines show up at different places, just shopping for the best lines every day. I know a lot of you aren't doing it. I know a lot of you say that you're doing it, but you're not always doing it. So you want to be taking advantage of that as well.
The Atlanta Braves have a 6.1 run implied total, taking on the New York Mets, who have significantly less than that. Alan Winans going for Atlanta. David Peterson going for the Mets. Winans 15% owned at 7,500. Seems okay based on the run total that I see, but the Mets don't strike out a ton. Do you like Winans as a value option?
No, not really. And again, this kind of speaks to where I'm getting in some of my builds. I'm getting away from some of the more popular stacks where you might be spending up, specifically looking at you, Braves. And I don't really find myself getting to him. He did have some, I mean, that last outing is a little bit of an outlier. Let's be dead serious about it. He went completely berserk, 7 innings, mowed down some dudes, but you go to his AAA numbers and he's not going to be that guy. 22.7% K rate there over the course of AAA in 2023, 3.92 FIP. He's decent, but you look at his Zips and Steamer projection, they've got him under 19%. The Bats got him right around 19.5%. In terms of what you're looking at for his projected strikeout rate going forward. And then you added the other part of the equation, this matchup against the Mets. They're terrible, but they have decent enough bats at the top of this lineup, and then they don't strike out top to bottom. So it's a hard spot for me to want to invest in a guy that I think the range of outcomes are just a little bit too wide for me. Yet again, I'm getting to more Mets bats.
Strikeout prop on Winans is a little bit shaded to the under of 4.5, just FYI, minus 122. So
yeah, I've been doing that a lot more in my process. Just, again, the 4.5 that I saw for the last game too, for the Drew fellow, forgot his last name already, but definitely think both of these guys, I mean, they kind of fit into the same bucket where could they go out and be serviceable for you here? Yes, but I don't think that I necessarily need to be making that kind of a play today. He's 15% owned, like 14.5% owned in our last run of ownership. Give me the known quantities here if people are just going to blindly play them to, get a 7,500 guy in Winans to get a $4,000 guy in Drew Rom.
Yeah, I've got him like where he should be, probably somewhere around 10% owned, which is, good, not great.
It's fine.
Nothing special. A guy on the slate. I don't really see it any other way. I mean, Jake Swales is out of his mind. To call him the best pitching value on the slate, to just ignore a 4K Drew Rom, like you can't, there is no better value than him. It's not close.
Yep. I 100% agree. I think that some people want to like extrapolate what you say from time to time where it's like, I'm not getting to Drew Rom, but the reason I'm not getting to him is ownership combined with what I think his perceived ownership will be in 3 max and single entry type stuff that I have a little bit more of today as well. Playing 150, but just like low dollar 150. And for me, I just don't really think I'm going to get to any core builds or anything that I'm going to be prioritizing with Drew Rom at it. But it's not because he isn't a good value.
Yeah. Rom is going to chalk per Swale. So like, first of all, 18.5% ownership in a 150 in the main 150 max isn't chalk. But 2, that has nothing to do with value. That is not what you said. You want to tell me that you don't want to get to Rom because he's chalky? Sure. I mean, Winans is 4% less owned. So that's an interesting distinction to make based on ownership. If we're talking about value, it's not even comparable that it's Rom. We have Winans projected better than I do. And we have him at 15% to be a top 2 value option. We have Drew Rom at 37%, more than double. And that's the optimistic version. I've got it 3 times that direction.
Yeah.
Drew Rom is the value pitcher. There is no discussion otherwise. If we
got a small little bump too in our last run, we just had a run.
Look, it's 4K. It takes so little to matter at that point in time. That's the whole point of this.
Yep.
David Peterson against Atlanta.
I don't like it, but I am getting to a little bit. I think it has more to do with the 1.5%. He's showing up, 3-4x that out of the course of my 150 lineups that I sorted. And I think it just speaks to the ownership. It's obviously a terrifying spot. He's been really, really bad this entire season. You're now facing the Braves, which when you have a 424 expected slugging, a 44.7% hard hit percentage, it's kind of a disaster waiting to happen. But the one thing David Peterson does do that gives you a little bit of hope is he combines a 24.2% K rate with a 56.3% ground ball rate. And there's a decent enough pitcher in there somewhere. We saw it all of last year with a 3.94 expected ERA. The walk rate is also terrifying. You have the speed combination at the top of this Braves lineup, but I am getting to a little bit.
Well, let's talk about the bats here. We got to start with Atlanta. They're the number one stack today. They're basically the number one stack constantly. As long as they're not up against an ace or in Oakland or something, they're going to be sniffing that top spot every time. And today is no different. Now, are they a value? No, not quite. But they're number 2 in ownership at 11% aggregate. Seems about right to me. I don't really have much to add. Probably a tad over-owned, but like this is a team where even if you're just one-offing some of these guys, you feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, you definitely do. And again, one of the things that's showing up for me, I have a lot of Atlanta, but I'm mixing them in as 2-man, 3-mans, it would seem, as I'm sorting through everything over in the Sims tool. Acuna, Harris, I like the Harris addition to the 2-hole from the 9-hole last week where they started finally doing that. And now they're going to keep him doing it even against lefties. He's 4,800. He was always the most overpriced 9-hitter, but now that's going to bring the ownership sky high here, and it's come along. Matt Olson, no Ozzie Albies still in this lineup. You're not going to have him for a little bit, but Sean Murphy, Matt Olson, I mean, all of these guys individually, it seems like I'm getting to a lot of them, but not as the 5-mans that would require you getting to Drew Rom.
So for right now, I have a bunch of Braves, but it's not totally stacked up. I have 14 5-mans, which is still like a decent chunk of Atlanta. It's 9% of my stacks. It's a little bit lower than their overall, but I have 19% Acuna as a one-off. And I don't want to say one-off and mean one-off, but not part of a 5-man stack. So it could be part of a 2-man Brave stack. It could be part of a 3-man Brave stack, but not a part of a 5-man primary. I got a ton of Acuna. I get 10% of Austin Riley. I get 7% of Sean Murphy. I get a lot of this Atlanta team outside of stacks. And that's kind of the way that I want it. I have some other 5-man stack hoping to go crazy, but you just assume the Braves are going to score 5 or 6 runs every day. Someone's going to dong. You're hoping to buy that one. That's the way that I'm looking at it here.
Yeah, and you're looking at a guy in Peterson, even lefties. Again, Michael Harris, people looking left on left. I would actually say him with a 196 expected ISO. It's just a better spot for some of the lefties. Matt Olson, I think people just see the platoon side of it. And obviously data is king, and we're a data company, and we've gotten people to at least get sharper at MLB DFS where you can't necessarily be worried about those things. But even in those single entry 3-max, I don't think we're going to see as much ownership come in on the lefties as what we should, considering Michael Harris. Yeah, David Peterson, he definitely has the strikeout stuff go up a little bit there, but over the course of this entire season, been giving up a lot more power to the left side, which is a little bit surprising, but it doesn't mean don't play the righties. You should still absolutely 100% play the righties. You can go all the way down to Vaughn Grissom, who, once upon a time was a well-touted prospect and has kind of fought his way back into a spot. Actually, just Ozzie Albies being out helps. But Michael Harris, Matt Olson, those are 2 guys as I'm hand building that are showing up in like my 3-max stuff that I want to be getting to. And then I'm with you. I just like getting to this team as 2 and 3-mans a little bit more as one-offs, mainly because I want to get away from some of those chalkier builds that just combine all of these elements we've talked about in the first couple games.
6th in top stack, 3rd in top value, 7th in ownership. Is there something here for the Mets against Winans?
Yeah, there definitely is. Mainly Winans and Rom. I do think we're going to see pretty decent ownership. And obviously 15% isn't anything crazy on this slate. There's 7 games. There's only a number of different options. But I do find the Mets to at least be appealing because from a positionality standpoint, you have Alonso, Vogelbach, and Lindor, and they're only available at their individual positions. You get multi-positionality for other guys. Narvaez has had an absolutely atrocious season, but Lindor and Alonso, it is really hard for me not to be playing a lot of them as like a 2-man combination when they're going to beat out their position a number of times relative to what their ownership is. And I just think they're going underutilized. And part of that is you're just getting more people playing the Winans fellows. So I find myself getting to quite a bit of those two specifically. And then as a 5-man, yeah, they're just sitting there as another team that I'm just getting to a little bit of. There's one team that's completely taken off for me in my last couple builds, and we'll be waiting a little while to be getting to that one. But I find this to be a very intriguing team. You get the same game environment there. They're a little bit under-owned, 0.8% leverage over on DraftKings, and you could see Winans get a little bit higher owned. I would find it surprising if he ended up lower owned based on the box score watchers. So I'm probably going to be sitting with around 8-10% stacks of the Mets, it looks like.
Yeah, I've got 18 5-mans right now. I have basically the same amount overall of the Mets as I do the Braves, but they're obviously significantly less owned. So I am getting to the bats. I prefer the bats pretty highly in this game to the pitching. So go offense in Atlanta for today. That's for sure. Anything else in this one?
Offense. Nope. Pretty clean.
Astros and Red Sox, pretty close game. 4.6 run implied total for the Stros, 4.3 for the Red Sox. Christian Javier and James Paxton going in this one. 31% ownership to Javier at 7,100. 18% ownership going to James Paxton at 8,300. Which starter do you anticipate having more of?
I have a ton of both of these guys in addition to the expensive guys. I find James Paxton at 8,300 to be more of a luxury item, and I find Christian Javier to be kind of a priority at 7,100. It's a tough matchup. You get all the lefties, the litany of lefties from the Boston side, and I'm going to have a ton of Boston bats, it looks like, as well. It seems like I'm overweight to every single bat. Tristan Casas, Rafael Devers, I know we talked about them before the show a little bit there, where they were popping for me here too. You've seen some downward numbers for Javier, but still the hit props for him. I know that seems like another strange one to throw out there, but sitting around 4.5 across the industry, that's pretty wild to see something that low. It's unfortunately just power when it happens. 462 expected slugging with a 10.2% barrel percentage. So from a home run perspective, not too shabby to pulling off some one-offs of Devers, Casas, and getting to the Boston side. At the same time that I do think Christian Javier brings at least decent enough stuff. I mean, yeah, the 21.8% K rate, it's a far cry from what we saw all of last season, sitting right around 33%, drastic drop off, but it's still just an underpriced Christian Javier. Seems like he's going to be showing up a lot for me.
Now I'm only on to about 27% of Javier. I was well over the field earlier. I'm happy that I'm not, because I don't trust him. There's just so much power issues for him, but I do think you have to get to him because 7,100 is just kind of a crazy price tag for a guy with that kind of strikeout stuff against righties. Unfortunately for him, he's only facing 4 of those righties. Lots of lefties at the top of the order. Then we get Paxton against the Astros, 8,300. So you are getting the discount for the matchup. 18% owned, certainly lighter than you would expect James Paxton to be at 8,300. But that said, not exactly a spot where I'm trying to get a lot of him.
No, I said I think he's more of a luxury item, which is weird because it's like a mid 8K James Paxton here. But overall, I feel like this would be back in the old days. I would have just like jammed a spot like this because he's sitting sub 20%, 26.3% K rate, 287 xWOBA, had a phenomenal season, but I look at some of these individual spots, Kyle Tucker, Yordan Alvarez, Chas McCormick in the middle of this lineup. Yander Diaz has had some strange reverse splits, 565 expected slugging, but been way better against righties over the course of this season, that I find that to be a little bit jarring going up against James Paxton on lefty, where you'd think the platoon would be coming into play there for him. But overall, James Paxton, I'm sitting right around the field, maybe a little bit. I reran some stuff here. 21% of him I'm getting, so I'm a little bit over in this last run. I was a little bit over on Christian Javier as well. I don't know if that's going to continue here, especially if I start mitigating how much of the it's so easy to play Atlanta with both of these guys, actually. Like, I don't find it to be that cost prohibitive, even though I do think people are going to go to the cheaper route with the St. Louis starter. But I like James Paxton. I can't really get there, it seems like in the way that I would anticipate I normally would.
Yeah, I'm a little bit limited there. I have about 11% now. Looks like I'm going to come in just at or just shy of the field on both of these guys. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I know who I'm not coming in just around the field on, and that would be the Boston Red Sox. Evidently, now that this slate has changed, I am buying the power on the opposite side against Christian Javier. He has had major issues with lefty power. Well, enjoy Verdugo, Devers, Yoshida, Casas, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll take my chances with like Duvall and Story. Hopefully we can get the bottom of the order on with like a walk or something. And then one of these lefties again can come through and just put one into the cheap seats. But the Boston Red Sox appear to be my biggest stand on the slate. And at 4% aggregate ownership, nobody in double digits, only 9% going to Devers. Kind of happy to be here.
Yeah, you should be. And then the other part of the equation, you talked about, he has a problem with lefty power, 212 ISO, 199 expected ISO. But these are some big right-handed bats on the Red Sox side if we start seeing Story kind of get acclimated to Adam Duvall after getting hurt at the beginning of the season. Both of these guys have the power. And then he has a 262 expected ISO, Christian Javier does, against right-handed bats on the season. So it's not exactly something that I'm concerned about. Again, sure, he's striking out way more of them, and you're going to have Duvall, you're going to have Trevor Story strike out anyway, so who really gives a shit? I'm absolutely fine getting to them and playing a lot of Boston. Well, I'm not probably as overweight to them as what you are, but it's definitely a play both sides of it kind of spot for me here. Getting to... Yeah, right around the field here in this last run for Christian Javier, a little bit under now, which makes me happier. And then the Boston side, specifically Devers, Yoshida, Casas, Story, Duvall, getting to tons of those guys.
19% of my 5-man stacks are Red Sox. And we have them at 4% aggregate ownership. So if they go for like 8 or 9 runs today, I should be in decent shape as long as no one goes crazy.
I mean,
I don't have as much of the Astros.
So you have Paul Blackburn in Oakland, and has been pretty good at suppressing runs, seems to be getting better and better with each start. I don't know really how to factor that in, but looking on the aggregate, I would much rather stack against a popular Christian Javier at pretty comparable ownership than stack against a Paul Blackburn in Oakland.
I made that point earlier on the strategy show, so great minds think alike.
Oh, look at that. It's almost like you taught me stuff in life.
Astros bats?
I got to play some Kyle Tucker, some Yordan Alvarez, even left on left. I'm not going to shy away from my guys. Chas McCormick. I did bring up the Diaz reverse splits. For some reason, it's not pulling up here for me. So you have to almost just trust me. There you go. It's not that you shouldn't. Yander Diaz seems like he's going to be a power bat against both sides and 46.4% hard hit percentage against both sides. But he's had some pretty interesting reverse split stuff against righties. It existed at AAA as well. So that's where I kind of think that it is a thing for him. But I'm not going to remove him from any of my stacks manually or do anything like that. I'll let it run. Just maybe going to be lower on him or not play him in some of these hand builds that I've got. But yeah, it's a back half of a lineup in Pena, Myers, Maldonado that's just never all that appealing. That's kind of one of my major issues with getting to Houston in spots like this. But they're completely underutilized here in this spot. What, 4.6% ownership share? Give me the Tucker Alvarez left on left doesn't really affect me at all.
Anything else for this game?
Nope.
Guys, I told you we've had an amazing sponsor for today. It is going to be Caesars, and I have a deal for you. This deal just dropped today, so this hasn't been out there for a while. You haven't had the opportunity to take advantage like this. So click the link in the description, sign up at Caesars. If you're a new user and you bet $50, you will get $250. And they're going to come in as weekly bonus bets of $50. You'll get one immediately, and then you're going to get another 50 every Monday for the next 4 weeks. Now, that bonus bet will expire 7 days after you get it. So make sure you're going through that bonus money each week. But this gives you a slow trickle to try to attack different sports, build up a bit of a bankroll as we get ourselves to the beginning of the NFL season and then slightly into the NFL season. But you'll have little bits of $50 just popping in if you take advantage of this deal. I think it's a fantastic option for you. Other deals, great too. Do them both. Get the free money, build up your bankroll, and then figure out from there where you actually want to be. If you are 21 or over and believe that yourself or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. But before you do any of that, take advantage of the deal. Right?
Yeah. Yes, Josh. Thank you.
White Sox, 3.6 run implied total. Mariners, 4.8. Touki Toussaint and Luis Castillo going in this one. 6% ownership to Toussaint at 7,500. 31% ownership coming into Luis Castillo at 10,300. The new highest dollar player on today's slate. Are you willing to pay up for Luis Castillo today?
Yes and no. This is the ultimate play both sides of its spot for me right now. I'm getting close to the field on Luis Castillo, but the game environment right around 85 degrees here at first pitch, a little bit warm, wind blowing out to right, I believe it was earlier this morning. And it seems like a spot that's going to play up for power. That's kind of what's translating across the industry today. And it's a spot where Luis Castillo gets out of the most home-friendly park you could possibly have in T-Mobile. You're putting him into the spot where the 7th most home runs have been hit relative to expectation over the course of the last 3 seasons on Baseball Savant. And that just creates a 43% hard hit percentage, 15.7 degree average launch angle for Castillo up against the likes of a Luis Robert, an Eloy Jimenez, Yohan Moncada, even. I'm willing to roll the dice a little bit. Gavin Sheets just showing up in lineups, even though I don't like it. We've just got a spot for me where I think the White Sox are a very, very intriguing low-owned team. And then you've got Luis Castillo, where there's an obvious path, 27.3% K rate. You're looking at this lineup top to bottom for the White Sox. There are some Ks with Robert, Moncada, Colas, Sosa, but on the whole, it's just one of those spots where, for me, I would naturally think, oh, Castillo is going to be way more popular on a slate like this. And it just doesn't seem like he's there, even at 10-3. And I'm not exactly sure why. He's got the highest top 2 percentage in our projections by quite a ways. So I'm going to be kind of playing him and rolling White Sox along with it.
I basically have like the same amount of like 5 or 6 different pitchers, and Castillo's one of them. I have 23% right now. It's a little bit lower than the field, but I assume I'm going to be in that 25% range. Upside is clearly there. When he's not giving up power to lefties, he should be fine. So I think he looks pretty good. Now, Touki Toussaint, on the other hand, 7,500 against the Mariners. Allegedly, no, I didn't look at this lineup, so I'm just going to trust Clayton here. No Julio Rodriguez in the lineup for the Mariners would certainly make things a little bit better than Toussaint. I don't mind him as a value option. There are some strikeouts here. If he's 6% owned and you have 10, I don't think it's crazy. He's not a priority, though. I want to be very clear there.
He is not a priority in any way, shape, or form. And Seattle was a team that I was just getting to absolutely tons of. This is a spot where I'm not sure what to make of Touki Toussaint over the course of the last year and a half, mainly because he's found ways to bring the power down. We're talking a 118 expected ISO against lefties on the season, 157 expected ISO to righties. Now, I don't think that is going to be what you expect from him going forward. And now you've started to see some of that power show out the last couple, giving up 4 homers in his last 3. It's playing more to his baseline of 2021, 2020, where, I mean, he was just a gas can. And one of the other reasons stacks really make sense for this team, the 16.7% walk rate, just keep the line moving. But obviously, no Julio Rodriguez definitely diminishes some of the interest that I had there and making them the priority stack. Still going to be plucking guys. Dominic Canzone, I had a whole thread on today. Think he's somebody who's due for some positive regression based on some of his hard hit numbers, along with what he did at AAA, even on the road, considering he comes from AAA Reno. I always have to devalue those guys because otherwise that ballpark is just, it's on steroids. You've got Cade Marlowe, cheapy down there with a little bit of decent hit tool, but God, this strikeout stuff, Suarez, Raleigh, Hernandez. I mean, there's at least some guys who can maybe strike out where you can make a case to get to a little Touki Toussaint. Maybe, and no Julio. I mean, that's guy. He's been the hottest guy on the planet, even though I don't know how to value that either. But Touki Toussaint, not my favorite play, but maybe I got to be factoring in it a little bit more without Mr. Rodriguez.
5.5 strikeout prop for Toussaint, slightly juiced to the under. Maybe you see that like neutralize a little bit if with Rodriguez out, but he's fine. Yeah, he's fine.
He's just showing.
Do you anticipate still getting to a ton of Mariners bats?
Not sure yet. I have to take Rodriguez out. I hadn't updated that. I'm sure I'm still going to get to a ton of them. You've got across the board guys who have really decent ex-Wobas, whether that's JP Crawford, who's making his first start in forever, Eugenio Suarez, Ty France, Teoscar Hernandez. These guys are all over that 333 type mark. Canzone's at 353, one of the best plate discipline numbers that I've seen coming from AAA to the big leagues. And, just a relatively small 80 at bat sample size. But like what we've seen out of him as a young prospect with a lot more raw power than he's shown, just 2 homers and 40 or in those 80 ABs. But yeah, I'm going to be playing some Mariners for sure.
Are you going to be playing some White Sox against Castillo?
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
This
I've
is,
got
this
a couple
is another
stacks.
one. Good. Okay. Because I think that this is a team that gets completely shut out. Like I'm contemplating, because they're the lowest in terms of ownership share that we have on the entire slate. And if that's going to be the case, I might even end up playing them in single entry. Yes, it's a very low outcome stack, 2.1% top stack percentage, but there are so few ways to get like really completely different. And I do think Luis Castillo, as you said, giving up some power there, getting to some of those lefties. Luis Robert, it's weird to see him at plus 450 on FanDuel to hit a home run, but such is life. 530 expected slugging. We've seen that hit tool all season long. Eloy Jimenez, getting to him as well. Maybe not single entry, but definitely a team that I'm contemplating being well over the field on. It's not that hard to do, though, when they're 2%.
Yeah, like I have 4%. So I'm cool with where I stand there.
Double the field, making a
Sox.
stand.
Anything else for White Sox Mariners?
No Julio Rodriguez. Don't play him. Haven't really updated anything here, but this was a team that I anticipate getting to second or third most on the slate. I'm not going to go completely nuts and remove it because you do remove Julio and you get a cheap bat in there. It's just that cheap bat in Cade Marlowe looks a lot different than it would have been with Julio Rodriguez for upside, obviously.
All righty, we will keep this one moving. Hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. We're up over 100, but we can definitely get more. Before we hit this next game, Corey Williams hit us with the super chat. Best single entry DraftKings stack with the best SP to go with.
Say that again.
Best single entry stack and pitcher to go with on DraftKings.
All right. Well, Seattle was it for me before. Don't know. Again, it's weird to have one player matter that much to me, but I don't know. He seems like he's been pretty good. I would say right now, I like the Mets a lot going up against Winans. I also like the Pittsburgh leverage that you're getting there. So I would probably be plucking one of those two. And then just talked about the White Sox, another team that I'm throwing into that bucket because they could legitimately be 1-2% owned against Castillo, and I don't think they should be.
The Rangers are the team that I have second most behind the Red Sox. I wouldn't recommend the Red Sox in this particular scenario for the lineup, even though I have a ton of them in 150 max. But the Rangers are also a good stack for today. They are pulling some ownership. I don't mind that at all. So I think Texas would be my answer. And then from a pitching perspective, Castillo is probably the most easily recommendable guy. Pick whatever one of Javier, Blackburn, and Marsh you think is best, or a Rom, I guess, that you think is best to pay down with. But I think it kind of has to be Castillo at the top if we're recommending a pitcher.
Yep, that would be the guy.
All righty, Diamondbacks and Rangers. I just mentioned them. 4.1 run implied total for Arizona, 5 for the Rangers. Now, we have had mild changes to the Arizona game. We do not have the same starter. It is now Joe Mantiply, which is a funny name to say. He will be opening, making way for Slade. I can't say Italian names, so we're going to go with Slade.
Ciccone.
Is that what it is?
It's Ciccone, yeah.
I just never naturally read an Italian name in my mind. I just don't have it.
I went to Italy, 3 years ago? 2.5 years ago it is now? Middle of COVID, going and officiating a wedding in Italy, normal stuff. But
I'm hoping. Oh yeah, I remember when you did that. I think I remember when you did that.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I haven't looked or anything. I'm hoping that one of the rewards for DK this year again is this like truffle trip in Italy. Because I showed that to the wife and I was just like, this is potentially something that we can do. And she was just like, yeah, you have to pick that one. I was like, wait. I don't know if it's there, but this is the type of thing that is offered. So I'm hoping that they run that one back because I would like to pick that one.
You should, because Italy is the coolest place that I've ever been. It is. You're going to absolutely love it. If you love food and if you love good times and if you love boats and water, going out and kicking it with your friends, there is no better place to be on planet Earth than Italy.
Katie's best friend and her husband were just there for like 6 weeks or 8 weeks or something. They got a house and just stayed. And I was just like, shit, jealous.
It was like a week and a half, 2 weeks. And everybody was worried, like, oh, if we get COVID, we have to stay for 2 more weeks. And I was like, okay. Like,
Shucks.
Shucky, darn. Oh, I got stuck in Italy. Dang it. I'll just do shows from the boat. That's fine.
Jordan Montgomery is 9,800, 6% owned against the Diamondbacks. We have him 19% to be a top 2 scoring pitcher. Is that affecting you at all? Are you getting to him? Because I have him as a positive leverage guy too, but I'm still not getting there.
He is my highest owned pitcher. So
I don't think that's crazy based on his ownership.
So Jordan Montgomery sitting there, just a 22% K rate, but I don't know what happened since he got acquired here by Texas. I'm going to have to say that it's something to do with Max Scherzer. You get Max Scherzer in your clubhouse and you can kind of generally see him take over. He seems like one of the guys who's just going to help a baseball team win games by talking to the other guys on the staff and just helping them with their stuff. But I mean, we've now seen some really decent swinging strike stuff from him now. Obviously, you're going to get that against the Angels from time to time, but the ground ball rate been better here in recent weeks as well. I thought he was just the Yankees are idiots. They're absolute idiots. Harrison Bader for Jordan Montgomery made no sense to me at the time. It makes even less sense now seeing Jordan Montgomery succeed here. He's sat around 3.3 ERA, 1.24 whip. And the other part of this is just this Arizona lineup. I mean, I know that there haven't traditionally been strikeouts. You could get a Kyle Lewis in there. You could get, Jace Peterson at like the 9-hole or something of that regard. Probably not the left on left or against. Well, yeah, no, probably going to be Jace Peterson. Buddy Kennedy has not been good in any way, shape, or form. And then this guy's just pitching deep into games. If I were playing FanDuel, Jordan Montgomery for sure would be somebody that I would want to be targeting over on the blue site. 5 consecutive 6-inning appearances, 4 consecutive quality starts to go along with it here. I like what we're seeing from Jordan Montgomery. I don't know how to necessarily just say, hey, he's pitching well right now and not sound like an idiot. But one of the things going for me, and this is just what's happening when I run everything, he's completely underowned. He's just drastically underowned, sitting at 18.6% top 2 percentage and just 6.9% owned. If you were to bring that ownership up to 14, 15%, I probably don't get him in north of 30% of lineups. But that's not the case. So give me Jordan Montgomery against Arizona. I think he has a really good chance to pitch deep into this one and like the increased strikeout stuff here in a Texas uniform.
Yeah, I'm lower on him than we are, but I still think he should be like 12 or 13% owned in comparison to 6. So that's still like a pretty massive gap in leverage for somebody that he just shouldn't be 30-6 next to Castillo. Like it should be 30-15 or 28-14, something along those lines. My problem for Montgomery is that I'm getting Waka instead.
Oh, yeah.
Same price point, basically same ownership, only I get the Marlins. So I think that's why it's happening for me. I mentioned before, though, I am getting the Rangers bats, as are the public. 3rd in top stack, 8th in value, 5th in ownership at 10% in the aggregate. It's about where I'm at. I have about 11, but I do have 20 5-man stacks of Texas right now. There's just so much power in this lineup, particularly at the top.
It's really fun. It's a fun lineup to have, knowing that it seems as though on these Braves slates where people can get to cheap pitchers and just jam Braves, that you get a team like Texas. And you just have to think about like range of outcome wise. Like if there's one other team that you had to pick on this slate blindly in a blind situation to just say who's going to beat out the Braves, I think you're taking Texas pretty much every single time, matchup independent. I mean, it's just a team, as you said, at the top of this lineup. You get power at the back of it. You get Ezekiel Duran with a 458 expected slugging and 265 expected batting average. Leody Taveras, 269 expected batting average, 42.2% hard hit percentage. You get a spot where, this Ciccone fellow, Slade Ciccone, 511 expected slugging, not probably going to go completely go super deep into this one. The man to play, but Ciccone, we did see him extended at least 276 pitches. Doesn't seem like he's going to be much of anything to me. 4.91 FIP, 5.14 Sierra. These are wonky little spots now in pretty limited sample size. 10 and a third innings. So Slade Ciccone probably going to be targetable with Texas bats for sure.
Any Diamondbacks bats against Montgomery? I'm assuming no for you.
Nope. I have like virtually zero, which is wild because I do feel like Arizona's a team that I'm constantly overweight to. Tommy Pham, always been one of my higher owned batters as a one-off pretty much every single slate. But now people have kind of caught up to the fact that the hard hit numbers, well, part of it was matchup, and he translated that into actually going yard a couple times. But the ownership's now come up on him in some of these spots. I still think you can get to a little bit. 506 expected slugging, 376 x WOBA. The launch angle is something he still needs to work on. But Tommy Pham confirmed pretty good at baseball. If you wanted to get there, I'm not going to blame you. But yeah, I have virtually none of this team against Jordan Montgomery.
I have 9 5-mans. I don't mind it just because if he's going to give up anything, it seems to be power, and they are projecting 8 righties plus Corbin Carroll. So maybe they just tee off and grab a couple homers.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. What point? So yeah, I mean, he's completely, you can't throw lefties out there against him whatsoever. What is it? I can't even, like, my brain can't say it. 0.085 expected ISO, 85 expected ISO. It's a weird thing to say. But got the 172 expected ISO that's identical to his actual ISO. Yeah, righty power. It's okay. And obviously Christian Walker, Tommy Pham, Ketel Marte, they have it. I'm siding with the Montgomery side.
The Oakland A's have a 4.5 run implied total. The Royals are at 4, which may be the amount of people that are in the stands for this gym. Paul Blackburn going for Oakland. Alec Marsh going for Kansas City. 37% ownership going into Blackburn, 25% ownership coming into Marsh. And here's the deal. I think they're both right, or at least like right enough. Great value for a 7K Blackburn, great value for an Alec Marsh at 5,800. Both of these teams' offenses stink. I don't like doing it, but like this is a place to corral pitching.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. Paul Blackburn, pretty improved stuff going up against the Royals. There's really not a whole lot to say. It's just going to be, what does this ownership get to? He's the highest owned pitcher at 37.1%. And then you look at FanDuel, out of control, 28.7% ownership over there for him because of the $7,800 price tag. I would be finding ways to transfer that ownership to Castillo or my guy, Jordan Montgomery, sitting there at 3.3% ownership. Some fantastic stuff. Yeah, I'm going to have to play on FanDuel today. That's what I just established, pulling that up. But Paul Blackburn, he's been much improved. I like the matchup, obviously. I like the ballpark, obviously. It's just got to be how crazy does the ownership go, because if it gets north of that 45-50% number in single entry stuff like it could, I'm going to be upset that I played him.
I've got 30% right now. I am more than happy to have that amount. That totally works for me. But I also have 30% of Alec Marsh on the opposite side. Does scare me a little bit, but I do think the 25% ownership is warranted. Anytime you get Oakland in Oakland, you just feel good about it. It doesn't really matter who the pitcher is.
Yeah, well, and Alec Marsh has been pretty serviceable at times. I mean, it seems as though he's starting to figure it out in this longer reliever type role. You're not going to see the 11 strikeouts that he had against Tampa Bay. He's 0-6 because, again, you have the Royals backing you up as a lineup, but I don't give a shit about those things. I care about the fact that you're in Oakland facing an Oakland team that just strikes out a copious amount against righties, 25.1% K rate on the season, third highest number, just an 88 WRC plus, 142 ISO, and then you get them in Oakland. It's a spot that just makes sense, whether it's Ryan Noda, Brent Rooker, Seth Brown. There's a lot of guys with 25, 28, 30% K rates on this team. 2 guys north of 30% in Rooker and Noda batting third and fourth. So I'm more than okay getting to an Alec Marsh piece where he's a little bit chalkier. Again, for me, I don't find as much upside in the Oakland side as I do in some of these other spots. Pittsburgh going up against a popular pitcher. The Mets going up against a popular pitcher on the cheap as well. But there's no doubt Alec Marsh, there is an opportunity here against Oakland.
Bats for Oakland or Kansas City?
No, I'm not doing it.
I have 10 Royals 5-mans and 7 of the A's. So I have a little bit. Ownership on both sides for the pitching works for me. Like, it's.
Is there an individual batter you're getting to the most?
Michael Massey.
Yeah,
12%.
I love Michael Massey. So I was going to highlight him. He's improved his launch angle drastically in the second half of this season, getting up to around 18.5 degree now on the entire season, 439 expected slugging. It is changed in a hurry for him. I don't know what he figured out or how he figured it out, but you look at some of his 30 and 90-day sample sizes. That is a bat that is much improved, up 5% in hard hit from last season. I don't completely hate it, even though the barrel percentage is down. Seems as though he's figured this thing out in terms of launch. And obviously in Oakland, it's a cavern, not as useful, but don't mind the Michael Massey play.
Yeah, it's Massey 1 and then Bobby Witt 2, and obviously that doesn't
good.
it's Bobby Witt. Yeah,
he's good.
Ready to close this one out?
Let's go.
Final game, 865 people in here. We're over 100 likes. Hit it one more time. If you haven't hit it already, sign up for the Sims, link in the description. Sign up for the lineup generator, link in the description. Lineup generator is going to be less than $5. Sims is going to be like 180 bones. But if you haven't noticed, the boss man, Tom Kennedy, taking down 3 relay throws so far in August. Put a thread out on Twitter. You should go find that and check it out because he's been dominant and he is chalking up a lot of that to our MLB Sims tool. Padres and Marlins, 4.9 run implied total for the Pods, 3.6 for the Marlins. Michael Wacha going for San Diego. Ryan Weathers allegedly going for Miami.
I like the allegedly thrown in there. Allegedly, you're rostering him too. So honestly, this is a spot where I'm not getting to pitching all that much, and I do want you to kind of sell me on Wacha. He's been good, 34.4% hard hit percentage. Only a 21.5% K rate, but this Marlins lineup, this projected lineup with Jazz Chisholm, with Jake Berger, with Jesus Sanchez, I mean, there's some strikeouts that are definitely available at the same time that it's like, I feel like, I don't know. How about you just sell me on Wacha?
It's really weird. FanDuel Sportsbook still has Snell.
That is really weird. Well, it matched up for Snell last night when I broke down
that's tomorrow.
This game.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. Yeah, they ended up switching it around, but I broke down Snell last night because it was anticipated to be him. And then they just basically flip-flopped these guys, which makes sense. You had an extra day of rest for Wacha. He pitched on the 15th. Snell pitched on the 16th. So it would have matched up more likely to be Wacha here, but they had Snell on MLB last night.
Yeah, only a 4.5 strikeout prop for Wacha, but this is a great spot. Park limits runs. Park limits lefty power against Wacha. Both of those things off to a great start. I'm certainly happy to see those things. He doesn't really get bombed against any particular hand. A little bit more power to righties, but nothing specific. He does really just like not get hit around, and I think this Park should help him out quite a bit. So he's 10% owned at 9,800. I've got 25%. I think he grades out better than Jordan Montgomery, and I'm getting to Wacha because of it. I don't have a huge issue with liking the opposite side at 6% ownership. I think both of those guys are I think both guys are underrepresented at 9,800. We talked about Montgomery being underowned there. I can go either direction for it, but I do agree that they are underowned.
Yeah, I definitely agree he's underowned. And going up against Miami, there are going to be times you're giving up power. There's a ton of power that's just kind of shown up from thin air on this Miami Marlins team. They made some decent enough moves at the deadline, but one of the results of that is there are going to be more strikeouts available when you have Jake Berger playing every day there. He has got the power. He's also got the ability to strike out 3 times for you. So it makes sense to me for Michael Wacha to be getting more of your ownership than Jordan Montgomery. And obviously the spot's better going up against Miami than it is going up against Arizona in that Park and Chase. But for me, I'm just landing on a little bit more of Montgomery. I think that I do believe in some of the changes that he's made this season. And I guess I'll probably give Michael Wacha the old boost, the old thumbs up. I can give him a little bit of an ROI boost.
Ryan Weathers is not good. And he's facing the Padres, which is not good. But the Park helps. He is unowned. And he's surrounded by a guy at 5,800 in Marsh that's 25% owned. Drew Rahm down in that 4K at 19% owned. I've got like 10% Ryan Weathers right now. I don't like it. I'm not telling anybody to do it. But it is happening for me at the bottom just because of the price and the Park. I'm hoping when I rerun everything, it all just goes away.
324 BABIP against lefties, a 339 BABIP against righties. I do expect positive regression in both regards for him there. We're sitting right around a 192 expected ISO, 190 ISO, so basically around 190 for both sides of the plate as well. Swinging strike stuff is never going to be all that appealing, but does he have revenge in his heart? That's always the thing that matters, right? 6.89 ERA, 1.70 whip. You're not going to feel good clicking that button. It's not going to be awesome. He hasn't gone for 5 strikeouts in a game when he was in a Padres uniform. I don't expect it to continue here with the Marlins, but hey, you get an opportunity at 5,100 to get different. And I think that in MLB DFS, 1% on a 7-game slate, getting different is kind of worth it at that kind of a number.
Do you want any Marlins bats against Wacha?
No.
I didn't think so. Fifth in top stack, terrible values, fourth in ownership. What do you see here for San Diego? They're pulling a little bit more ownership than I expected, but if it's Tatis and Soto and Machado, it's not all that crazy. I don't really have them. This is not a team that I'm getting to. I'm getting to more of the Rangers. I'm getting to more of the Braves. There's only so many of the pay-up teams you can get to. Is San Diego one for you?
Yeah, it'd be one thing if Withers was popular. There's no way he's going to be popular. I'm probably just going to get to a smattering of the Tatis, Soto, Machado. I did get a lot of them before the show. And then I've done like 2 or 3 lineup updates since. And it seems as though they're just kind of slowly working their way down. And I'm not exactly sure why, but I think part of that has to do with more popularity throughout the show that's coming in on guys like Drew Rum, like Alan Winans, where I'm just getting to more of the Pittsburgh Mets side of things, where you have kind of the same build, where you have the expensive bats. It's front-loaded Tatis, Soto, Machado, and then you've got the cheapies surrounding them. Seems like I'm just kind of preferring other places, other ballparks that I think are going to be a little bit more friendly to us than Petco in this spot.
Anything else for Padres Marlins?
Nope. I think we're done.
Favorite stack?
Was Seattle. I'm going to stick with Seattle. Still Seattle.
Okay. All righty. Favorite pitcher? Do you have one?
Oh, Jordan Montgomery for sure.
There it is, folks. Thank you to Mike for being the producer behind the virtual glass. Thank you to Caesars. Bet $50, get 250 in bonus bets. MLB live before lock coming up next. Go nowhere. Stay right on the stream. We're out of here. Peace.
Yo, it's that time of week again. Stokastic Hall of Fame. Time to induct all of you fine people into the Stokastic Hall of Fame. Give away some free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Well, $120 value there. And all you got to do to get involved in the action, get your free month, get here up on the board so we can do the bragging for you. Download the Stokastic Avatar at stokastic.com/avatar. Use it wherever it is you play. DraftKings, FanDuel, doesn't matter. And then finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Doesn't matter if it's the quarter arcade, the dollar, or something big. Tweet your wins with the screenshot to us at Stokastic HOF. When you do, you'll get that free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. You're getting the Hall of Fame. Let's get to it for this week. Kicking it off with John Bryan. Took it home. Finally. Thank you guys for all that you do. $1,000. There you go. Solo shot. 1K to first. John taking it down with the Stokastic Avatar. And Colby Evans. Shout out to the man, Matt Gajeski. This is true. He's the preseason pioneer. We all know that. Matty G, your preseason projections are a must. Every single season. Find them over at Stokastic.com, by the way. Thank you for your hard work and dedication to the deep dive that is the NFL preseason. There's still an edge. Congrats, Colby. You love to see it, man. $1,000. Little preseason win there. Hey, preseason money's pretty big right now. And then our own CEO, Tom Kennedy. $50,000 and $5,000 on the same day. MLB DFS comeback is complete. Quit playing MLB a few years back. Loved projections and game theory, but couldn't compete with the software guys and their sims. So we set out to level the field and elevate sports over software with Stokastic Sims. Never had so much fun playing DFS. Congrats, Tom. CEO taking down 55K. How about Ron? He's got $1,000 win. Hall of Fame, baby. Lock me in. Also, rocking the Stokastic Avatar. See how easy this is? Congrats, Ron. Standing firm. Getting that bankroll for the NFL season. Great time to do so. Huge thanks to the lineup generator. Such an awesome tool. And then we've got our own Josh Engleman, the absolute best way to wake up. Fell asleep 15 minutes before the Muncie home run. This freak can fall asleep when he's sweating 50K. But Josh takes home 50K. Big shout out to our boy and my co-host, Josh Engleman. And Forrest, to close this one out, just snuck into the top 3 using the tools, $600 to TH, $1,800, $600 win in the four-seamer. Congrats to all of you guys. Remember, download the Stokastic profile picture at stokastic.com/avatar. Use it wherever it is you play. Tweet your wins to us at Stokastic HOF. Get that free month, $120 value. Get in the Hall of Fame, and we'll catch you back here next week for the next one. Peace.
What's up, everybody? Greg Ehrenberg here from Odd Shopper, and I'm about to break down my favorite markets to bet for football futures. So what we're going to break down here is how you guys can make some money using some of the stuff that I look at when it comes to futures, in particular the ones that I like to look at the most: awards, MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year for the offense, Comeback Player of the Year, and then also team futures. So stuff like Super Bowl winner, division winners, stuff along those lines. Those are the things I like to bet on. We also have tools for it over at Odd Shopper. They're going to help you make some money, because one thing that is really important when you're betting futures is to always make sure that you're betting the best available line, which we have here in Odd Shopper. And if you're signing up for the first time, use the link below, because it's going to get you 70% off the first month you sign up for. And one thing that is going to be important about betting the best line, especially over the long period of time, is why would you ever want to bet something like a plus 200 line when a plus 300 line is available somewhere else? And Odd Shopper is going to help you identify what the best line is. We've got all the futures markets loaded in here. So stuff like division winners, Super Bowl winners, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, any markets that you could think of, we have here in Odd Shopper. You could select them and find the best available line. And as we get even closer to the NFL season, more lines are going to be posted at different books. So go check out Odd Shopper whenever you're going to be betting any kind of NFL future, so you make sure that you get the best available line. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is the MVP, which is likely going to be a quarterback. If you look at the most recent winners of the award, all of them are quarterbacks. You actually have to go all the way back to 2012 to find Adrian Peterson as a running back who last won the award, who is not a quarterback. So that's going to be the most important thing to think about here, is that if you're betting on an MVP, make it a quarterback, because the most recent winners, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, all of these guys are quarterbacks. And I could say with a very, very high degree of likelihood, the winner in 2023 is also going to be a quarterback. It would take some sort of crazy, outlandish performance for a position player to
I've got my Sims running right now. Yeah, compiling results.
I already did a run of lineups, and I'm going to try to do another one, at least start kicking it off right before we start. Right?
Nice.
No, this is fun now for me. I'm trying to race. I have to, how many seconds are left? Done.
Yeah. I mean, that's essentially how Greg's vacation is going to be, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
What I'm actually going to do is do shows to no audience. I'm going to sit here exactly, and I'm just going to do an entire hour-long one-man show.
That makes sense.
What is happening, everybody? It is Monday. Hope you all had a great weekend. I know that not only did I have a good weekend, but I'm going to be gone for a few days. This is going to be my last show until Friday. I've got Tuesday off. I've got Wednesday off. I've got Thursday off. The longest vacation of my entire life. It's my birthday on Wednesday. So taking a few days to hang out with the family, have some fun, those kind of things. So the next few days, I don't know what's going to go on around here, but I ain't going to be here. So you guys enjoy this show right now. The last one I'm going to be doing for a few days. And in the interim, do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and shout out to Caesars Sportsbook because they have a great deal that they are starting here in the incoming NFL season. Have you seen this deal, Neil? What it is they're offering?
I have. I hosted the strategy show this morning, so I had to give the caveat this morning that it wasn't live yet, but now it's live. You can take advantage of the 5 into 250 incredible deal.
It is live now. So earlier today, deal went live at Caesars this afternoon. If you sign up at Caesars right now, guys, use that link below. You place a $50 bet. So make a deposit, place a $50 bet. $250 coming your way in free bonus bets. This is the easiest money you guys can make today. $50 pays out to you $250 in bonus bets. They're going to pay you one $50 free bet per week leading up to the NFL season. So you make this deposit now each week. 5 free bets, $50, adding up to $250. All you have to do is sign up using that link below. And if you or anybody you know has a gambling problem, you call or text the number 1-800-GAMBLER. We've also got a DFS slate to talk about today, and only 7 games. So, good amount of slate here in terms of game size, but not nothing too crazy or anything like that. Any kind of general overarching thoughts about this slate before we get into it? There was one game canceled for anybody who was unsure about that.
Yeah, so I got to say, so I did my lineup generator video, and it was the flattest I've ever seen. Like, I didn't have a single player, I think, on DraftKings more than like 35% exposure, which I've never seen doing that lineup generator video. I did, however, just run my Sims, and I am just getting a ton of the Braves in my Sims. So a little bit of disparate results from what I saw in the lineup generator and my Sims currently. But yeah, we've got some nice cheap pitchers that allow you to pay up for the Braves. Make sure if you're using Fantasy to make your lineups that you turn on the show all pitchers and check mark Alec Marsh, because you're probably going to want to have some exposure to Alec Marsh, I would think. And he makes it easy to pay up for the Braves. So I'm getting to a lot of cheap pitchers and the Braves, and I think I'm just going to run with it.
Yeah, Alec Marsh, who we'll talk about in a second here. By the way, that is actually really good information they just gave out to everybody. And I walked you through this the other day on the show, if you remember, Neil, and I think it's a pretty good time to give everybody a refresher.
Yep.
If you are in Fantasy Cruncher and you're wondering, Alec Marsh, who's not listed as a starter, he's expected to be a bulk reliever for the Royals today and in a really good matchup against the Oakland A's, people might be wondering, how do you get him into your player pool? I'm going to walk you through the steps. You go into Fantasy Cruncher, click on where it says columns. From columns, go to additional options, and then you want to go show all pitchers. From there, you're going to go select the Kansas City Royals, select Alec Marsh, make sure you have him in your player pool. Good heads up there, Neil, because people should know about that. Alec Marsh, who's projected to be fairly popular today. Yeah. 26% ownership right now going to Alec Marsh. Just going over and looking at the numbers now that the data is all updated with most recent run of ownership updates that went live like 3 minutes ago. And part of that is because we had new lineups come out for the team. So if you guys want Alec Marsh in your player pool, that is how you do it in FC. So good shout out there, Neil. And yeah, this is going to be a slate where we definitely have a lot of cheap pitchers to talk about, but still, there are some guys on the high end that we could talk about. Do you want to start with Jordan Montgomery and Luis Castillo, Neil? I'll give you the option here. Or do we just start by talking about the cheap pitchers? That is where most of the ownership is today. Let's start at the top, I guess. Okay. Luis Castillo, and I can tell you, Luis Castillo looks like he's going just, he's about neutral in terms of ownership versus top 2 pitcher odds. I have to look at what I have because I just finished the crunch right before we started. I don't think I got to much Luis Castillo, which sort of surprises me. I thought he was going to be a big part of my lineups, but as I said, I got to a ton of the Braves, so I guess I'm spending up at bats. I only have 9% Luis Castillo currently. He looks fine in the tools. The only issue is if you want to play the best bats, Luis Castillo is the most expensive pitcher on the slate. Outside of Luis Castillo, Jordan Montgomery looks great in the tools. 7% projected ownership, 18% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. And I got to, I thought I had seen him. No, I guess I did not get to as much. I thought I got to more Jordan Montgomery than I actually did.
Did you get to much Jordan Montgomery? I mean, he looks like a great play. Yeah, no, I got 1% exposure to Jordan Montgomery. So I might give him a boost because he does have such positive leverage for us in the tools. Also might help me to spread out my exposure a little bit because right now I have so much of the Braves. I'd rather spread it out just a little bit. And I know we had that conversation last week. You disagree with that approach of spreading it out, getting rid of some of the EV for the sake of mitigating risk. But I think I'm just going to do a little bit of it.
You know what's funny about that slate, by the way, and not that this is the end all be all. The pitcher we talked about that day was Mackenzie Gore, who, if I'm not mistaken, at a cheap price and low ownership, ended up being the highest scoring pitcher of the entire slate. And I ended up crushing that day because I had Mackenzie Gore as my most rostered player.
Yeah, I mitigated a little bit, but I still had a ton of, I think it was Mackenzie Gore and Seattle maybe. And I think I finished in like 5th or something in the mini Mega Max, something like that. So I made, I was very close. At one point, it looked like I might have a shot at binking, and then of course it didn't go my way at the end. I forget what the team was. Was it the Braves? One of the teams that is dangerous. Did what they do and put up like 5 runs in the 7th inning or something like that. So ended up, not getting quite to the top, but I think I was 6th or 7th or something in that contest. And yeah, it was using Mackenzie Gore was exactly the pitcher that we were talking about. And I was like, man, this is way too much Mackenzie Gore. I don't want this much. And then I still had a lot and was grateful for it.
There you go. Yeah, it would have been really funny if you're on the show, you're like, I need to lower my exposure to Mackenzie Gore, and they come in first place with the Mackenzie Gore lineup. Yeah. But walking through the pitchers, we don't have that much to talk about on the high end. It is, like you said, we've got Luis Castillo, who's the chalk. Then behind him, you've got $9,800 Jordan Montgomery, $9,800 Michael Wacha. The next most expensive pitcher, it's all the way down to James Paxton, $8,300. We have this huge gap in terms of salaries. Now, a big reason for that is because we had the game get canceled. And a lot of times the way we've seen DraftKings set up their pitcher salaries is it's just based on like who are the best pitchers of the day, and they're kind of priced accordingly. It's not always necessarily based on who are pitchers and like what is their historical results. A lot of times it's just like, hey, if all the pitchers suck today, well, the least shitty of the sucky pitchers end up being really expensive, which is why, Jordan Montgomery's last time, it was $11,000 over on DraftKings, just a massive price point because the pitching was so weak that slate. And he ended up having like the best start of his career. But looking at these pitchers, Castillo, Montgomery, Wacha, we've got Luis Castillo, who I tend to think the ownership is about right here. He's in my single entry lineup right now as well. 30% projected ownership. I think he's definitely, if you guys are paying up for a pitcher, he's the number one priority. The ownership is there. I think it's warranted. As for Montgomery and Wacha, I'm not really getting to either of them. I know Montgomery was really good in his last start, but by and large, he generally doesn't have a whole lot of strikeout upside. I have him in even at 8% ownership. I'm underweight to the field right now. I was just checking my ownerships. He's in 4% of my lineups. And then Michael Wacha at 12%. I don't have a massive amount of interest in him. He's had, a solid year, but he's also battled injuries. And I'm not sure we're going to get him totally stretched out today. And he's projected for ownership at 12%. So if I'm paying up, it's going to be Luis Castillo. And then we could talk about getting different at pitcher, but it's generally going to be by being cheap for me. Between Montgomery and Wacha, it seems like you were leaning towards Montgomery if you had to pay up for one of the contrarian options there, Neil.
Yeah, it would be Montgomery for me if I have to pay up. I mean, Wacha also has some positive leverage here, so I guess it's similar, but we do have Montgomery. They're the exact same price. We have Montgomery at lower ownership than Wacha and higher top 2 pitcher odds. So yeah, if I'm just playing one of them, I prefer to play Jordan Montgomery. I'm with you though. Like I said, I'm boosting Jordan Montgomery, but I'm really not getting to a ton of Luis Castillo. If I'm going to boost one pitcher, it should probably be Castillo because he does have much higher top 2 pitcher odds than either of Montgomery or Wacha. It's tough. Like we have such nice leverage on Montgomery and Wacha. I don't know. I currently am getting so much of the Braves and so little of these pitchers that have nice leverage. I'm thinking about whether I want to spread it out a little bit more. But yeah, if I'm just playing one, it's going to be Luis Castillo, followed by Montgomery, followed by Wacha.
Yeah, and we will talk about the FanDuel pitchers in a second here as well. But first, we got a super chat. We got my question. The super chat from Corey Williams, was that from this show or from the last show? Either way, we could answer it now. Like, is it the worst thing in the world if we answer this man's question twice? Corey Williams, thank you for the super chat. He wants to know, what is the best single entry stack and what is the best starting pitcher combination to go with? So I am rerunning my lineups right now, but I'm fairly confident that I'm going to have the Atlanta Braves as my single entry stack. There are a handful of teams that are projected for double-digit ownership today. The Braves, the Cardinals, the Mariners, and the Padres. Of those teams, I think the Braves make for the best option. And with there being these 4 teams fairly close in ownership, I don't think it's going to be a thing where the Braves are like 40% owned in single entry or anything like that. So if I'm stacking one team in single entry, I'm going with the Braves today. But you see it a different way, Neil.
Is this for DraftKings or FanDuel?
He said DK stack.
Yeah, DK, I'm with you. Yeah, it would be the Braves for me also.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Braves,
they're who I'm
DK,
playing. Yeah.
And then he wants to know what is the best starting pitching combination.
So if you're playing the Braves, you can't just like pay up for Castillo and Jordan Montgomery or something. So I would probably play. Actually, let me look who I got to fit my Braves in. I got to a ton of Paul Blackburn, so I would probably and the field is going to be there too, but I think Paul Blackburn makes a lot of sense. It would probably be Blackburn, and I mean you could go with Blackburn and White-Ons for the correlation with the Braves stack. If the Braves go off, obviously a little bit more likely to get that win. That might be the right pitching combo.
So in the last run I did, my pitching combo, which is very chalky, but that is what it ended up being. It ended up being Blackburn and Castillo. So those are the two that I landed on for single entry. And I'm also not really a Blackburn guy, but at least for this slate, good matchup against the Royals. And one thing I have come around on with him, his strikeout stuff has been considerably better this year than it's been in previous years, whereas Paul Blackburn's been a pitcher who, number one, has been bad, but also not generated strikeouts in the past. He's actually getting swing and misses this year, which has really changed his outlook. Now, going forward, I do definitely think that he is going to be not quite as good of a strikeout pitcher, but even with that aside, I think he's pitched well enough this year. And then you also consider the price, the matchup, and all of that. And I do think that Paul Blackburn makes some sense to be getting to here.
Yep.
So let's talk about some of these cheaper starting pitchers now. And Neil, is there anybody in the mid-range that's really standing out to you? Now, with the caveat being we don't really have much of a mid-range, right? Because I see Mike's got the top pitchers tool on screen right now. So let's go with, well, I guess we could really only talk about James Paxton, actually. Paxton at $8,300. I'm not really getting to him in the mid-range. And he's priced kind of weird. Like I said, there's nobody priced around him. So I guess you kind of get forced on him in certain lineups. If you have, if you have $8,800 left in salary on the table, you're just kind of going to James Paxton. But ultimately, I do wonder if that's going to drive up his ownership just because he exists on an island in terms of pricing. It's a really tough matchup for him on the road against Houston. He's shown some signs of fatigue as of late. So I'm not really getting to a whole bunch of Paxton, but what are you doing with him in the mid-range where there's just nobody else priced anywhere around him?
Yeah, I have 8% Paxton, so I am underweight to the field as well. Looking in the top pitchers, so he's got some positive leverage as well. 17% ownership, 19% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. It's obviously very scary. Like I don't think anybody who's hand building is going to want to click on James Paxton against the Astros. I certainly wouldn't want to. But yeah, he looks like he's going slightly under-owned in the top pitches tool, but not enough that I'm like going to force him into my lineups. Like I ran the Sims, I got to 8%, so I'm below the field despite the positive leverage. I'm gonna trust the Sims and just go with the lineups I have instead of forcing in James Paxton against Houston.
All right, so let's talk about some of the cheap starting pitching then, and this is where I think this lineup is going to be, or this slate is going to be won and lost for people on the cheap end because we have these really popular, expensive offenses. So a lot of people are looking to save money at pitcher. And hey, a lot of these options are not great pitchers. Like Alec Marsh is $5,800, so it's a good price. He's got a great matchup against the Oakland A's as well. But, like how many slates do you have where Alec Marsh, who's going to be a long reliever, is projected for 26% ownership? So with that in mind, I want to know who are the 2 cheap starting pitchers that you're getting to most predominantly?
Yes, I'm getting to currently 49% Paul Blackburn, and then it is White-On second, 35% exposure currently. It's interesting because I'm like, I kind of want to play the Mets now. I'm thinking about it more. I'm like, I feel like I should try to force in a few Met stacks to counter all of the White-On's exposure. I guess he's only projected for 13% ownership, so I'm just going well over the field. So I guess I don't have that leverage. But yeah, for me, it is Blackburn and White-On's currently. I'm getting to 25% Marsh as well, so he's third. But yeah, he's third in the pecking order for me. Actually, Drew Rahm is ahead of Alec Marsh also still. Who are you getting to in the cheap end?
That was the other one too. I'm getting to a decent amount of here is Drew Rahm. And this is solely based on price point, right? And I think there is something to be said for if we don't feel great about a lot of these cheap pitchers, right? Like why not take the guy who is just the cheapest of all of them? Also a pretty good matchup. Rahm is 4K on the road against Pittsburgh. pitcher-friendly park. And let's look at some of the numbers of Drew Rom and see what it is that we can make of him, because I'm sure, like most of you watching, this is not somebody who's, a household name that a lot of you guys are like super familiar with. In Drew Rom. So I will say this, he is a non-ranked prospect in the Cardinals organization. This isn't somebody who's like really well regarded or anything like that. He started the year with the Baltimore Orioles. It went poorly. He has made the bulk of his minor league starts this year with the Orioles. 5.34 ERA, 4.2 on FIP. You don't like to see that. But he goes to the Cardinals and he has pitched very well with St. Louis. Actually, 0.82 ERA, 2.87 FIP in the minor leagues. Only 2 starts. That's what got him called up to the big leagues. Here, though, Neil, is why I do think it is still worthwhile to get some exposure to Drew Rom at this kind of price point. His minor league strikeout rate this year, 25.1% with the Orioles, 43.9% with the Cardinals. And then also, if you look at some of his previous years in the minor leagues, he's very consistently been a guy, high 20% to like low 30% K rate. So he does appear to have the ability to generate swing and misses. That's kind of all you need at 4K, right? If he's able to make it through, let's say, 4-5 innings, maybe gives up 2-3 runs, but if he could strike out 4 or 5 hitters and the Braves go off as a really expensive offense, then I think you're kind of on to a pretty good performance for Drew Rom relative to his price point. So I don't think this guy is particularly great, and we could talk about the merits of stacking against him, where he's picking up some ownership as well. But I'm with you where I'm getting to him, and it's just he's an unknown with a cheap price point who seems to have strikeout upside.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what the sample size is there. I'm looking at his strikeout rates. I'm like 44%. I don't know that I've ever seen that, but I have no idea what the sample size is in St. Louis there. I don't see the number of innings or anything. But yeah, even if it is just like mid-20s at 4,000, that's certainly worthwhile to play. So, and obviously going to the majors, like it's probably going to drop from what he was from his minor league numbers. But it's also like early in his career, it might hold up a little bit more before teams have seen him a ton. So yeah, I think that he's very interesting at that. His min price, right? Yeah, 4,000. Yeah,
4K, which is the only reason why he's even in consideration. Well, the strikeout rate as well, and the price point. Wouldn't play him, on like FanDuel where you only have to roster one pitcher, and then also where you don't have. Well, the other thing too is I don't think he's even on the. Oh no, he's $5,500 on FanDuel. But I wouldn't play him in FanDuel on a single pitcher site. DraftKings, where you absolutely need a roster soon, you're going to need the salary savings. He's at least playable because of the price point and potential strikeout upside. Are there any cheap pitchers that are picking up ownership that you are not getting to in your lineups, Neil?
Let me take a look at the ownership.
And I'll read it off for everybody watching as well right now. So here is the ownership of the cheap pitchers that we have talked about on DraftKings. Then we'll talk about FanDuel right after this, guys. Don't worry. So the current pitcher ownership on DK I'll sort by ownership. We have Paul Blackburn projected for 38% ownership. He's the most popular cheap starting pitcher. Then we got Christian Javier at 30.2%, Alec Marsh at 25.5%, Drew Rom at 16.7%. So those are the 4 cheap pitchers that are picking up, like I would call a substantial amount of ownership.
Yeah, I was thinking that I didn't have any Javier, but no, I have 27%. So I am getting to all of the cheap pitchers, at least to some extent. Like I'm getting to actually a good amount. As I said, I have 49% Paul Blackburn, 35% Winans, 31% Drew Rom, and still 27% Christian Javier. So yeah, I'm not really fading any of them. Are you fading any of the cheap guys?
No, kind of mixing and matching, especially when it's hard to feel good about a lot of these guys, right? I kind of think it does make sense. Mix and match, get different exposures to different pitchers. I don't find one of them to be extraordinarily better than the other ones. Like Paul Blackburn is, but the ownership is so substantial that I'm going to end up being underweight to the field on Blackburn just for that. But like, it's not a fade. It's just I'm going to be underweight to Paul Blackburn because like on what slate is Paul Blackburn underowned at 40% ownership, right?
Right.
So
yeah.
I'll be a little bit underweight to him.
Nicholas says Javier is the worst pitcher at 9,400. I see 9,400 on FanDuel.
Yeah, and we'll talk about FanDuel in a second as well. We'll pull up the slate there. And even at $9,400, Javier is projected for a 9% ownership on FanDuel. If you guys have any questions for us in Discord, at me, so we can answer those over the course of the show. The perks being a Stokastic Plus Platinum member. So you do get access to our Discord as well as all the projections, ownership projections we have on the site. And if you guys haven't signed up for a package, use the link below. Going to get you 50% off any package when you sign up for the first time. Could be a Platinum package, an MLB package, the lineup generator, which we're going to talk about in just a bit here as well. But FanDuel pitching, Neil, Here's where the dynamic is different. You only have to roster one pitcher. With that being the case, if you're paying up, I think the answer is fairly clearly Luis Castillo. He is $10,700 on FanDuel. He's projected for 18% ownership. I don't have an issue with that, though. And I want to ask you, if you're paying up for a pitcher on FanDuel, do you go to Luis Castillo or do you look at any of these other options? Because Jordan Montgomery, 10-3, Paxton, 10,000, Walker, 9,700, Javier, 9,400. We do have Walker project for 8% ownership, Javier for 9%. But the only pay up option that's over 10% owned is Luis Castillo at 18%. So for me, if I'm paying up, it is still Castillo, even with the ownership. Is it for you, or do you look elsewhere on FanDuel?
Maybe. I mean, yes, he's like, I definitely feel more comfortable playing Castillo. Just looking at the numbers, I'm a little bit more inclined to go to Montgomery, just because he's only 2% less likely to be the top pitcher, but he's 15% less owned or 14% less owned. So there's a case to be made for Montgomery. I still think I would, if I have the salary, I'm probably just going to click Castillo just because I feel so much more comfortable with him. But just looking at the numbers, like there's certainly a case to be made for Jordan Montgomery.
And now if you're going to be going cheap on FanDuel, where we have options like Paul Blackburn, who is by far the most popular pitcher on FanDuel, 27% owned for him. Then you've got Alan Winans, who is at 12.4%. I think that Paul Blackburn is the cash game guy to go to on FanDuel at the 7,800 price tag and as much ownership as he's picking up. In tournaments, though, would you still go to Blackburn, or would you pivot elsewhere knowing that he is as popular as he is?
Trying to see what Drew Rahm's game log looks like. So it looks like
this is his big league debut.
I know, but like just looking to see if he is stretched out, like if he can go. I mean, he looks like he had 8 strikeouts his last game, 10 strikeouts the game before. I don't see a pitch count here on Fangraphs. I don't know if I'm just missing it. Oh, innings pitched 6 and 5 the last 2 games. Just like, because I want to know that he has the potential to pitch 6 innings. Like if that is a possibility for him at, I think 5,500 is the stone min on FanDuel, isn't it, for pitchers?
Yeah, and like you said, and I'll read this off for everybody as well. The most recent starts for Drew Rahm: 6 innings, 5 innings, 5 2/3 innings, 5 innings, 5 innings. He appears to be plenty stretched out to go 5-6 innings.
There's, I mean, 5,500. Like if he allows you to pay up for like the Braves and the Cardinals, or I don't know who the expensive stacks are that we want to go to here. I think that you can make a case for going all the way down to 5,500. Like you just don't see 5,500 pitchers on FanDuel all that often who like you can make a case for the upside. And given his minor league strikeout stuff, I think you can make a case that he has pretty decent upside at 5,500. So I don't hate the idea of actually going all the way to 5,500 Drew Rahm here. Obviously Blackburn, I mean, Blackburn's second on the board in terms of top pitcher odds at 10%. So I don't know. It'd be between those two for me.
I like the case you made for Rahm, the price point, the upside, but I just don't feel like he's necessary, especially considering you're only going to play one pitcher on FanDuel. You really need to get some sort of good results out of him. And I think the downside is pretty dramatic as well here. So I'm less apt to play him on FanDuel. If I'm picking one pitcher for cheap, I'm probably going to go with Winans at 12.4% ownership. I think that he's somebody who you're getting a pretty reasonably comparable range of outcomes compared to Paul Blackburn. For instance, as you guys could look at the numbers we have on screen here, we have Blackburn with a 9.6% chance to be the top scoring pitcher on FanDuel, whereas we have Winans 8.2%. It's a pretty thin margin between the two of them. Yet Paul Blackburn, 27% owned compared to the 12.4%. So getting less than half the ownership on Winans. That to me is the pivot in large field tournaments. And I understand the case for Rahm. I prefer him on DraftKings to FanDuel though.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable. He's also min on DraftKings, so yeah, I think I prefer him on DraftKings also. Just making the case for it on FanDuel.
Yeah. Once again, cash games, I think Blackburn is. There's really only 2 pitchers you're considering in cash games on FanDuel, either Blackburn or Castillo, and I would gravitate towards Blackburn for cash games with the salary savings.
Yep, agreed.
Anything else you want to bring up as far as pitching goes?
I don't think I got to it, so I'm not playing on FanDuel. Yeah, Marsh is 7,100 on FanDuel. Still kind of interesting there.
It's hard when he's not going to be starting the game, though.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
you just have no chance at the quality start bonus.
Yep, good point. Probably wouldn't go there. No, like I don't think I would go to Christian. Christian Javier actually looks better than I thought he would for being 9,400 on FanDuel. We actually have him as neutral, 9.4% projected ownership, 9.3 and 9.3% chance of being the top pitcher. So he's very neutral on FanDuel. He does only have a 4% chance of being the top value pitcher. But that's a little bit better than I thought he was going to look on FanDuel. Yeah, I don't really see anybody else that I'm dying to play here.
All right, so let's go ahead and build some lineups in the MLB lineup generator. If you wouldn't mind, Mike, do us a favor, pull it up on screen. We're going to put your abilities to the test. Can you click buttons as well as Jordan Klein? We're about to find out. All right, it's a bold claim.
He's a confident man, this Mike.
Because it took Jordan a while to learn how to click buttons as well as he does on the show. We'll see. We'll see what it is that Mike can do. And if you guys want to sign up for the lineup generator, link below. We'll start with DraftKings, Mike, and let's go contrarian lineups today with being only a 7-game slate. So DraftKings contrarian. If you guys are signing up for the lineup generator for the first time, use that link below in the description box because you get access to this tool for less than $5 when you sign up for the first time using that link. Now, yeah, skip this. We're not locking anybody, Mike. Not locking anybody. And now save 20 lineups, and then we'll see what the exposures end up looking like. Neil, I know you've already built some lineups in the lineup generator. And by the way, it does look like we're getting a little bit more of a spread of stacks here than we typically end up getting.
What do we do in terms of chalky versus contrarian? Did we do all lineups or did we go with one specific?
We went contrarian.
Okay. I did all lineups, and it was still, I was like, I noticed that the chalk meter was way more on the contrarian side, like more consistently than it usually is, which I don't know if that's a change in like our algo or something, but I was happy to see more contrarian lineups in my set today.
Yeah, let's see. We've got stack exposures, if you wouldn't mind. We're getting to a lot of Pittsburgh there in contrarian stacks, which I like that for large field tournaments. I think playing both sides of the ROM scenario really makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ROM, as somebody pointed out in chat, like he wasn't good. He had a good strikeout rate, but he also had a terrible ERA in the minors. So definitely a both sides kind of spot.
Yeah, that was what I was talking about. Before we look at his numbers, I was like, sure, the ERA is terrible, but there is the strikeout rate. So like you could see it going very well for him. You could also see it going very poorly. I'd be kind of surprised if he's a neutral start today. I think there's a lot of variance in that game log. I think relative to his price point, at least, because the other thing too, like if he scores 12, 13 fantasy points at his salary, like I consider that to be a smash, right? So it's either going to go very well or very poorly for him at that 4K salary. I
was briefly just thinking right now about like, would I consider playing a batter against him? Like if I were hand building, would I consider playing him against a batter? Because I do think that like there's the possibility for like he gives up 4 runs and also has 8 strikeouts in 5 innings or something like that. It's probably on a slate that says still probably not worth playing a batter against your pitcher, but this is like the one spot where I might consider it when it is like the Stoneman price and has strikeout upside, maybe worth considering.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it on this slate with it being 7 games, but I understand where you're coming from. Most rostered stack is the Braves, no surprise there, followed by St. Louis, and then also by Seattle. And by the way, overall, as far as stacks go on this slate, we do have the Braves projected for 12% ownership as a team. The Cardinals are also projected for right around 12% ownership as a team. Getting to the Mariners there, they are at 11%. So the Pirates are a somewhat-ish contrarian stack, 8% ownership as a team. So they're coming in overweight to the field too. Let's look at the player exposures now, Mike, and we'll see what these individual ones that we're getting to are. Pitcher, number 1, Luis Castillo, and then just a mix behind him. It looks like we've got some of Winans. We've got Christian Javier. We've got Alec Marsh, James Paxton there. So like a bunch of guys in like that 20 to 30% range. Let's see if we keep scrolling down. There's Rom at. So look, it's funny, even building out 20 lineups, Neil, we got to 15% of Rom and then 40% Pirate stacks.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm pretty certain that we're not playing any bats against our pitchers in the lineup generator. So yeah, just playing both sides in different lineups. Looks good to me.
Now let's look at the hitters that we're getting the most exposure to from the Pirates and from the Braves. So if you guys are looking to stack these teams, what is our lineup generator getting the most of from these teams? Acuna, Pilar, and Are there any other Braves? Austin
Sean
Riley
Murphy.
next, Sean Murphy, Michael Harris. So those are the 5 Braves that came up most predominantly. And now the Pirates. So if somebody's looking to stack the Pirates, the ones we got to the most are
Guerrero.
Reynolds, Connor Joe, Brian Hayes, and Andrew McCutcheon. So those are the 5 Pirates we got the most of. So if anybody wants to go out and you want to hand build lineups based on what we're talking about here in the live generator, those are the players we're getting the most of from those teams. Now, let's go and check out FanDuel. We're over on FanDuel. I think, the Pirates become maybe a little bit less interesting just because you get the less ownership on Rom, but we'll see. We'll see what the lineup generator says. Go and build some lineups on FanDuel for us, Mike. Same deal. We'll do contrarian again. Don't lock anybody in. And I'm curious to see what ends up popping up when we go to FanDuel as compared to DraftKings. Yeah, contrarian, no locks. Save 20 of these bad boys, and we'll see what we like. Doing my final set of lineups here, by the way, also, Neil, and then I'll have a good sense of what the final run has me getting.
I just saw the reminder from producer Mike that we've only got 25 minutes to lock, and I thought I better put some lineups in, so I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah, it is about time to do that.
Yeah.
All right, so looking at our FanDuel lineups, look at the stack exposures, Mike. I want to see the difference in terms of the teams we got to and what percentage relative to DraftKings. So still a lot of Braves. Braves, most stacked team on both sites. No issue with that at all. The next team, Cardinals, we also got to them on DraftKings. Pirates, getting to a good amount of Pirates on FanDuel as well as we did on DraftKings. Not quite the same leverage where Rom isn't going to be all that popular, but still. We've got them picking up some ownership, and then the Mariners, the Rangers, the other teams, 10% or more. Now let's look at the player exposure. Same deal. Start by looking at the pitchers, and we have Luis Castillo showing up most predominantly for us, followed by Williams, then Javier. Are you noticing, Neil, that we're making contrarian stacks? We're not really getting to Paul Blackburn at all.
Oh, that is interesting. I had not noticed that, but yeah.
Yeah, no Paul Blackburn.
And that maybe answers your question. Anthony said, why does lineup trader still give you chalky lineups when you choose contrarian options? I think it's giving like the overall exposure to the lineups. The overall ownership is not super high, but like it still will play some chalky stacks just with more contrarian pitchers.
Yeah, so you don't need every part of a lineup to be contrarian for it to be contrarian. There are multiple ways that a lineup can be contrarian. If a lineup leaves a bunch of salary on the table, it's probably, somewhat contrarian in terms of just the overall build of the lineup. But, for the sake of a baseball large field tournament, that's not necessarily what's going to make that individual lineup contrarian. But if you're playing the Braves as the most chalky stack on the slate, who we're also projecting in our data to be well under-owned, you could still, number one, play them and have contrarian lineups, such as if you don't play Paul Blackburn's the most popular pitcher on the slate. If he's somebody you're underweight to, which I'm kind of curious now as I'm rerunning my final set of lineups, I'm about to upload it to the lineup generator. Do you think this means I'm going to get well underweight to the field on Paul Blackburn now in my final run?
Ooh, maybe.
We'll know shortly. So anyway, yeah, you can make lineups contrarian by playing contrarian pitchers or by playing contrarian stacks. You don't need the stack and the pitchers to all be contrarian.
Right.
All right, uploading this final set of lineups.
I think sometimes it can be like we will like I'll do contrarian stacks, and then like the chalk versus contrarian meter will still be like on the chalk side of the meter. So it looks like you're getting chalk lineups, but I think that's just because you then have some individual pieces of the lineup that are very contrarian, or just, as you said, like leaving salary on the table, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and by the way, just to follow up, Paul C in the chat said wants to know what is Christian Javier's ownership on FanDuel. Wants to know if anybody knows. 9%. That is our ownership projection on him. We had that on the page just a little while ago. As far as the players we get the most exposure to from the Braves over on FanDuel, it is Austin Riley, Ronald Acuna, Vaughn Grisham, Michael Harris. So that is our top 4 if you guys are looking to make a Braves stack. And then as far as pitchers, Luis Castillo, Alan Winans, and let's keep scrolling down. Yeah, Javier there. And yeah, there's Paul Blackburn. Yeah, so we got Paul Blackburn in 5% of lineups when he's projected for 30% ownership on FanDuel. So that's pretty contrarian.
It's very contrarian, yeah.
Scroll back up to the top. Anything else you notice here, Neil?
Yeah, scroll back up. I want to see what the top exposures look like here. Okay, so we did get a little bit more condensed here in the player exposures than we did on DraftKings. I was when I did my lineup generator video earlier, I was pretty flat, like below 40% on both DraftKings and FanDuel, if I'm remembering correctly. So this is more condensed than what I was getting. And I usually I do the video and I'll get my exposure and I'll say, okay, I would cut back some players to some certain extent, like get rid of some of those lineups, get new lineups that don't have them in it. Today was like the first time or one of the rare times that I did my set of 20 lineups, and I was like, I would just run with this 20. Like, this looks like a good set of 20 lineups. It's spread out pretty well for me. This is a spot where I think on FanDuel, these exposures, I mean, I guess I'm probably playing about this much of the Braves. So I guess maybe I am comfortable with it with a team like the Braves, given how good they are.
All right, let's go and start talking about some of our favorite stacks. And I'm wrestling with something in single entry here, Neil. Yeah, we've done a bunch of these shows together. I think you kind of get a good sense for what I think. Which team do you think I'm kind of leaning towards playing in single entry right now as I'm finalizing some lineups?
The Braves. I mean, didn't we already talk about how you were probably playing the Braves in single entry?
Yeah, I've had a change of heart though. I've had a change of heart. This
If you are
on Paul Blackburn is so high.
Yeah,
He might be 50% owned in single entry today.
Yeah, and you're not a Paul Blackburn guy. You already said that. Got some positive leverage on that Kansas City stack. Yeah,
crazy,
it isn't
crazy to stack the Royals in single entry today.
Definitely not crazy to stack the Royals. Obviously, part of the biggest concern is that it's in Kansas City, I would say, and I guess that they are the Royals. I don't know who. There are not that many bats you love to play on the Royals, but like, would you full stack them? Like, would you play a 5-man Royal stack? I almost feel like they'd be better as a secondary stack.
So yeah, it would be a 5-man Royal stack.
Okay. I don't hate it. Like those are the kind of spots, like when you can find a super chalky pitcher and he's probably going to be even more chalky in single entry. I don't hate the idea of, especially when he's like not a historically great pitcher. Even if he does look better this year, he's not like elite. So like to get a very high owned pitcher who is not elite, that does seem like a good leverage spot.
I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to play the Royals in single entry today.
Love it. Is this going to be your last night of playing DFS for the week, or are you going to play while you're on vacation?
No. Absolutely not.
Is anything in your life going to change other than not being on shows?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go to the beach one day. I'm going out to dinner on Wednesday for my birthday. So yeah, there's going to be I'll venture outside a little bit.
Did you ask for any gifts for your birthday?
Oh, you didn't know? Oh, that's right. I didn't talk to you about this. So I have been asking for my birthday for a bidet for years now. And everybody laughs at me because I think it's a joke. It's not, though. I really want a bidet, and I think this is going to be my year.
So I know people swear by bidets. I'm like, it sounds so unappealing to me. Just have water shot up my ass. Does not appeal to me at all. I don't get it.
So you know what's even less appealing to me?
The
idea that your asshole gets clean just by rubbing some paper on it.
That's fair. That is fair.
Right? Especially because think about the makeup of that area. If you spilled food in your rug, Neil, would you take a dry paper towel and just rub it a little bit and be like, all clean? I don't think so. Which is why, if we're kind of making comparisons to how we clean other parts of our life, bidet is the way to go. Here's
the thing, though. What do you really need a clean asshole for? I mean, depending on what you're doing in the bedroom, I guess.
To be clean in general.
No, I wash it real good. Sportsbet says Neil confirmed to have crunchy ass. No, I clean it. Like I tried my best to clean it without a bidet.
Yeah, but what works even better is the bidet. So I studied abroad in Italy in college, and my takeaway from there is that everybody should use a bidet. All
right. Maybe I just haven't given it. I've never really used them that much. I think I've tried it once or twice in my life, and I was like, oh, that's fancy.
Yeah, so I have a very similar shower head in my shower right now, which I currently use to clean myself. The bidet is going to be the way to go, though. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Look at these are some really innovative stuff. This is actually right from Mike's bathroom.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
You're gonna. It looks like I would guess that shower head's going to get kind of dirty, though.
Could be. I'm telling you, nobody's allowed to knock the bidet until they've used it for the first time.
Mike was so ready for us to talk about bidets today.
Yeah, he did. He pulled them up in a hurry.
Yeah.
Pulled them up in a hurry.
Well done, Mike.
Yeah. So we'll see. In fairness, I do regularly ask for a bidet, and I never get it because everybody thinks I'm joking. This is going to be the time that I'm taking seriously.
Yeah, no.
I'm feeling it.
Multiple people in chat saying that Slade Ciccone was fresh. I don't know if that's a real thing.
So okay, he is still pitching for the Cardinals, but they have an opener before him. So it's like the same as the Alec Marsh situation. He's going to pitch. There's just somebody else who's going to come in first.
Okay. So fake news in chat.
Let's talk about other stack exposures though, Neil. So if we're looking large field tournaments, are the Braves the team? The Braves are still the team that I'm overall getting the most exposure to. Is it the same for you? I'm
getting so much more of the Braves than any other stack. It is like I've never seen anything like this, and it makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Actually, I guess now that I'm looking at it, I actually have a good amount of St. Louis also. So it's really those two teams and then a huge gap before the rest.
I'm fairly spread out with my ownership today. Like I do get the most of the Braves. The Braves are in 29% of my lineups, which is a lot, but like it's not like an insane amount. The Royals actually are the team I'm getting to the second most in large field tournaments, which is why I'm taking my number one Royal stack, and I'm going to play it in single entry today. Like I mentioned before, just as I look more and more at the ownership, Paul Blackburn nearly 40%, potentially being north of 50 or around 50% single entry, going to be stacking against him. I like the leverage we're getting on the Royals. Now, Paul Blackburn, relative to his price point and everything, like he's a relatively safe pitcher, but this is just not the kind of guy that should be close to 40% owned in any matchup on any slate, which is why I really go to the Royals against him. The other thing too about the Royals is while they're not a great real life offense, they have some power in their lineup and they have a lot of stolen bases as well. Like guys like Bobby Witt steal a bunch of bags when they actually get on. So this is a team that while they do have an overall shitty offense, it is an offense that when it succeeds does so in a way that delivers fantasy potential. So here we go. Kansas City Royals, locking it in. That is my single entry stack of the day. Are there any contrarian stacks that you find yourself getting to a decent amount of?
Yeah, so not really contrarian. So as I said, I'm getting to a ton of Atlanta and St. Louis. Let me take a look at the ownership. One sec. Anthony brought up a good point though, that you could afford a bidet if you really wanted a bidet. Do you just want somebody to buy it for you because it's funnier that way?
In part, but here's the other thing too. This is what's really hard about being an adult and people asking you for what to get you for presents is you request something and then you're an adult, so you could just go get the shit that you want to get, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is that once you've actually requested something, you can now no longer get that item. You have to wait for it.
I hate that. The period like before Christmas where I'm like, people ask me what they should get me, and I'm like, well, I could give you an idea, but like, what if I just want to go buy it? Like, I don't want to like tie up this idea for the next month, coming in November and December. Yeah, I hear you. It's tough.
So that's kind of the situation. I've been asking for this for so long and nobody takes me seriously. So nobody gets it, but then I ask for it again, so if I don't get it for my birthday, I'm just going to go to Costco and buy one.
I think that's smart. So I don't have any 5-man stacks of the Mets. I do wish that I did. Like they're a team that I look at and I'm like, yeah, I wish I had more Mets. Like looking at contrarian stacks, there aren't that many contrarian stacks that stand out to me as teams I really want to get to, but the Mets are certainly one of them against Winans at 5.4% ownership, 7% chance to be in the top value stack, 6% chance to be in the top stack overall. They appeal to me. Boston against Christian Javier actually appeals to me a bit also. 5% ownership, 6% chance to be in the top value stack, 5% chance to be in the top stack. They look pretty good at low ownership against Houston. Kansas City, actually, I mean, you're playing them your single. They look pretty good in the top stacks with 5% ownership, 7% chance to be in the top value stack. So I would say those ones stand out to me. Arizona also looks pretty good in the top stack tool. And that's also another spot where, oh, never mind. I was thinking Jordan Montgomery was getting ownership, but he is not getting any ownership. But 3% ownership going to Arizona, 6% chance to be in the top value stack. Sort of interesting.
I got a question in Discord from Dancing Elephant. Dancing Elephant wants to know, when I'm running my sims, how many lineups are you building? So it depends. I do typically 2 different runs because I'm playing in different tournaments, right? So for single entry, if it's like the 121 single entry tournament on DraftKings usually has right around 500 people. So for that, I build 500 lineups. For the large field tournaments where I'm entering my, 150 lineups into the $3 Mega Max on DraftKings, I run 10,000 lineups for that.
Yep. That's so today I only played 2,000 lineups, but that's because I was getting on a show and I ran out of time. I did play, I think actually Friday when I got in like the top 5 or 6, might have been the first time that I actually played 10,000 lineups. So there's definitely merit to playing the number, like as close as you can to the number of lineups that are actually in your contest. I think is the way to go, as you say.
And the other thing too that I'm going to add to this, because a little tip for people who might be wondering like what the best way is to build lineups as quick as possible in Fantasy Cruncher, build the lineups in groups and then merge the groups together afterwards.
Yeah.
So I'll build out like however quickly your computer runs lineups, you'll find that it gets to a certain number where it starts to drop off. Usually for me, it's like after 1,500 lineups, it starts to get a lot slower. So I'll build lineups in batches of 1,500, and then I merge the crunches together, and that will make it run much faster than trying to build all of the lineups together in one crunch.
Yep, that is great advice, and that's something that I have definitely found it to be faster if I merge them together.
Yeah, so merge those lineups together to save yourself some time. And yeah, after I merge like building lineups and merging them, and then running through the Sims, so like all in all, it takes me like 10 minutes to build 10,000 lineups and then run them through our Sims tool 40,000 times. So it's not like instant or anything, but it's not, it's a lot faster than I think a lot of people might think it would be. It takes me about 10 minutes to do all of that.
Yeah. I want to ask you this question that Mark Curry posed. What is the recommended water temperature for a bidet?
Room temperature. You don't want it to be hot, right? Because that's a sensitive area. If you do it hot, I've learned this from experience in my shower. If you try to go too hot with the spray nozzle, like you will burn your asshole and will feel very uncomfortable. So like warm temperature, room temperature.
You've been experimenting. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So the only way to know your limits is to surpass them.
Absolutely.
And you don't want to go cold either.
No, that just sounds awful.
Yeah, you don't want to go cold. Peter saying 98.6. That seems very hot.
That's like body temperature, right? 98.6.
Yeah, think when you get into, you don't want it to be the temperature of like hot tub temperature.
I mean, I put my hot tub at like 104 in the winter. Like,
yeah,
but it is pretty hot.
98.6 is kind of close to hot. Like that's not water temperature you want to spray in your butthole.
That's true. That is true. So, I guess I've got some experimenting to do.
Yeah. So also the ones that I've used in Italy way back. So just to understand how obsessed I am with this, I was in Italy in college, which was a while ago now. And this is all I've thought about as bidets ever since then, requesting them for holidays, for my birthdays. So I only know the ones that I've used in Italy, which it just had already, like I didn't have to change the temperature. It just was what it was. I'll give you guys full updates once I get this in my bathroom and figure out the optimal way to use it.
Thank you.
Are there any of these teams that are picking up double-digit ownership that you are underweight to? So to reiterate, we have 4 teams projected for double-digit ownership: the Braves, the Cardinals, the Padres, and the Mariners. Of those 4, are you underweight to any?
Yes, the only 2 that I have in double digits are Atlanta and St. Louis. Sorry, who are the other 2 again?
Yeah, so the 4 teams projected for double-digit ownership: Braves, Cardinals, Padres, Mariners.
I don't have any 5-man Padres stacks. It looks like I don't have much. I have like maybe 1 3-man stack of the Padres, and then the Mariners. I have a little bit. I have like 6% 5-man stacks of the Mariners, 3% 3-man stacks of the Mariners. So I have a little bit there. But yeah, I'm well underweight to the field on the Padres.
Yeah, so this is my setup for the chalky stacks. I'm overweight to the field on the Braves. If you guys are just playing one of the chalky stacks, I think the Braves are the one to go with. I am even with the field on the Cardinals. I am underweight to the Mariners, and I'm fading the Padres. Yeah, I didn't mean for it to be like 1 over, 1 under, 1 fade, and 1 even to field. It's just how it worked out.
I mean, it sounds like we're getting to basically the same, of like none of the pods, a little bit underweight on the Mariners and then overweight on. Did you say you're overweight on St. Louis too?
I am even with the field on St. Louis. So I have a different stance on all of them. Overweight to Atlanta, even with the field on St. Louis, underweight on the Mariners, fading the Padres.
Morningwood asking the over-under on my age. Well, anybody who watches this show regularly knows exactly how old I am because I have my birthday.
50.
And nice, Kevin, being a nice guy, set the over-under at 39.5.
Over.
It is. Yeah, it is over. But I am not 50. Don't believe the lies.
Once again, we've talked about this before. Neil's getting old because he forgets his age.
Yeah.
He forgets his age all the time. He is 50. If we look through the stacks on the slate, I'm kind of concentrated on a few spots, Neil, where Atlanta's a team I get the most of. I mentioned there's some teams I have like mixed in a little bit, like the Mariners, but I have 5 teams that I have double-digit exposure to that make up really the majority of my lineups. Could you guess what those 5 teams are that I have double-digit exposure to?
Atlanta, St. Louis, Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Kansas City.
Yep.
And Oakland.
No, not Oakland.
Seattle.
Boston.
Okay.
Christian Javier.
Nice.
Christian Javier looks like he's going to be picking up a fair amount of ownership today. We've got him in for, where's the number now? Yeah, 30% ownership now on Christian Javier against the Red Sox offense that does have some power upside to it. And Christian Javier also has pretty immense downside as a pitcher. So I'm underweight to the field on Javier, and I think it does make sense to get overweight to the field on Boston. You consider that they're only projected for 4% ownership as a team. We have them being positively leveraged. And in addition to that, there's a whole bunch of ownership going to Christian Javier. So you're getting a lot of leverage there. So the Red Sox, another team I landed on double-digit percentage of.
Yeah, no, I like that call also. I didn't get to much of the Red Sox. I'm sort of surprised how much my ownership is condensed on Atlanta and St. Louis, because there are other teams here that I kind of like.
Are there any other teams that, or anything I should say that you notice that's surprising about the final version of your lineup? So if not, we'll do our dong picks and get out of here.
I wouldn't say there's anything too surprising. I will say I just remember that you told me that I can boost an entire stack. So
yes,
maybe and I kind of want to boost the Mets. Now, can you remind me how to do this?
Yeah. So if you guys are using the contest simulation tool, which there's a link for that below in the description box, you go to ROI boost, right? So you're going to see ROI boost. It's next to the export button. See where it says ROI boost?
Yep.
So go ROI boost. There's going to be 2 tabs in there. One that says player boost and one that says stack boost. Click on where it says stack boost.
I see it now.
Can boost the team up, and that'll get you to more exposure of that team.
All right, I'm going to give the Mets a little bit of a boost, and I think I'm going to give Boston a little bit of a boost too.
All right.
This is nifty.
So let's see how that ends up impacting your lineups. We do it in real time here.
Yeah. All right.
You're hardly getting to any of them. How much of a boost are you giving them?
I gave them each a 10% boost. Is that going to be too much?
Well, we'll find the results in a second.
All right, let's see. All right, so now after giving them the boosts, I have okay, that did that even things out quite. Now I have 15% Boston, and now I still only have 2% Mets. I think I just didn't have that many candidate lineups from the Mets, so I still didn't get to a ton there, but good to see a little bit more.
All right, so yeah, a reasonable amount. Is that more or less what you wanted there?
Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
All right. Time for the home runs, and oh my God, the chat's already lighting up with home run picks, Neil. So you better get on it, because or else somebody's going to undercut you here. Because it's time, the best segment of the day. Neil and I give out our home run picks before we get out of here. Already in chat, David Porter is saying Bobby Witt, Malukar, Brandon Nimmo, Devin Neiman, Massey. We've got Sportswith saying Pete Alonso, B Funk, Corey Seager, Kevin O, Evan Longoria against the lefty. I like that, little sneaky. And then another one. Let's pick together Pete Alonso. Neil, who are you picking to go yard today? What is Neil's dong pick looking like?
I mean, the thing is, I already did this morning, so people might already know who my dong pick was. Although I don't remember who I picked this morning. So I'm rerunning my whole process now. I think it's the same one. I think I had Austin Riley this morning. I don't think I heard you say Austin Riley, so I'm gonna go right back there.
All right, Austin Riley. He is my most exposed third baseman. I don't have any issue with that. Who do I want to go with? I don't know that I want to go with any Braves because they're so popular. Somebody in chat already said Bobby Witt Jr. All right. I know who I'm going with. Tyler O'Neill. Tyler O'Neill for the home run pick. That's who's going to dong today. Tyler O'Neill, who is in 20.7% of my lineups, projected for 19.9% ownership. Some of them getting to a good amount here as a one-off. Tyler O'Neill, home run pick of the day, picking him to go yard. Guys, thank you very much for watching. If you have not done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and don't forget about our podcast network as well. If you ever want to listen to our content on the go, Stokastic, daily fantasy podcast channel. We've got football season coming up quick. Just a few weeks from now, we're going to have football season underway, and there's going to be football exclusive content going on the podcast channel. So get ahead of the curve so you don't forget. Go subscribe to that channel now. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a great night. I'm going to be gone for a few days, but trust me, you'll be in my heart the entire time. So see you guys back here Friday. Have a great week.